And 3-2 last night at Maple Leaf Gardens. Felix Potvin in goal for a second straight night for the Leafs. He did not play in the 4-game road swing. Damian Rhodes was in goal for Toronto. Felix returned last night against Winnipeg. Nikolai Habibulin, who did not play last night, his most recent outing, a 6-3 loss to Detroit on Wednesday night, is the starting goaltender for the Winnipeg Jets. Don Koharski is the referee tonight, and the linesmen are Swede Knox and Baron Parker.
Part of the Jets' problems, their goaltending has let in goals early in games, and they've had to play catch-up. Same thing in Detroit. Habibulin played a pretty good game, but a couple of goals early, and then the Jets had to play catch-up.
2 early goals against the Red Wings. And the Winnipeg Jets, as you said, were behind. They got back to 3-3, but then the Red Wings won it, and here we go, very early in the hockey game.
Warren Reichel and Chris King.
Chris King scored his first goal of the season last night in Toronto and was named second star of the hockey game. And from the face-off, he and Warren Reichel go at it.
The puck did hit the ice.
Just barely.
Just barely.
Neither player really able to do much damage. Neither could get a hand loose and do any swinging, but they were lined up opposite each other last night, and both attempted to deliver a physical message in last night's hockey game, and they decided very early tonight to drop the gloves and go at it.
John Paddock has to be pleased with that reaction from Chris King. He wants his team to play with more emotion, and that's something they didn't do last night. Chris King was one of their better offensive players last night. Maybe this will hurt them, having Chris King off the ice.
This is a milestone game for Pat Burns, his 200th behind the Toronto Maple Leaf bench. He has won 101 of the games he has coached for Toronto. So the faceoff will take place just outside the Winnipeg blue line. 4 seconds into the opening period. Chris King and Warren Reichel to the penalty box. 5 minutes each for fighting. Nelson Emerson chases it down in his own zone over to Dave Manson. Aggressive forechecking early in the hockey game by the Leafs, trying to force turnovers in the Winnipeg zone. Gilmore couldn't free it. Tkachuk comes up with it, misses Drake at center ice with a lead pass. Fired right back in by the Leafs. Daryl Shannon takes his time, banks it off the boards, and it's picked up by Todd Gill. For Gilmore, he redirects it down into the Winnipeg zone. Gartner and Shannon battle for it. Shannon gets it around to Manson. He throws it rink wide to Tkachuk. Tkachuk tried to leave it there, picked off by the Leafs. Here they come, 3-on-2. Gartner winds up the shot right on, steered to the corner. Jamie McCowan trying to keep it onside, succeeds. In the corner now, it's Sundin out front for Gartner. He couldn't get a shot away. Checked by Daryl Shannon. Mironov from the point, a long shot, caught up in the equipment of Habibulin, and he holds it for a faceoff.
The Jets twice had that puck within 5 feet of the blue line and did not get it out. In both times, the Leafs had good chances to shoot on Nikolai Habibulin.
For the second straight game, Toronto will dress 7 defensemen. Pat Burns was saying this would give him an opportunity to double shift Gilmore and Sundin more.
Mike Gardner has a shot at Habibulin. Habibulin has got very quick legs. We've seen that all year long. If he has one weakness, it's that susceptibility through the legs. A lot of 5-hole goals.
Gillen wins the draw back to Stefan Quintal. Eastwood in forechecking for Toronto, but Quintal was able to get it out of the zone. Now it's fired right back in by Toronto, and very quickly the Leafs are in forechecking. Sutter trying to free it, leaving it in the corner for Berg. He's checked by Jamnov to Quintal. Quintal takes his time before driving it into the corner. Picked up by Mironov, and the Winnipeg player Korolev goes crashing into the net. Then Sutter and Quintal bump inside the blue line. Quintal goes down, but I don't think any of the officials on the ice saw that.
Don Koharski is not going to call any penalties.
Same defensive pairing for the Winnipeg Jets tonight. Thomas Steen, however, is out of the lineup. and that has forced John Paddock to do some juggling. Drake will take Steen's place between King and Domi, with Groshek moving up alongside Emerson and Tkachuk, and Craig Martin getting into only his 5th game in the National Hockey League.
Thomas Steen was one of the better Jets last night in Maple Leaf Gardens. He made that line work hard and go, and they created a goal.
The icing call brings the faceoff back into the Winnipeg zone. Randy Gillen will take all the key faceoffs for the Winnipeg Jets in their own zone. He's lining up against a Winnipeg native, Kurt Ridley. And now Gillen is waved out of the circle.
Barron Parker again. I hope that the officials keep track of how many times each linesman waves centerman out.
Jamie McCowan from the point. The shot goes off a skate to the corner. Janssen is checked. Jamnov starts away. He has Gillen racing down the right side. Jamnov works his way in, tried to get it across to Gillen, and that has been a problem for the Jets. Jamnov was in excellent position to shoot.
Same thing last night. Oleg Mikulczyk had a couple of chances. Same play and ended up passing like that. No chance on goal.
Ridley is checked. The puck goes back to the net. Picked up there by Solani. He works his way back to the line. Now leaves it for Jamnov. Jamnov between his legs to Newman. He tried to go back to Solani. Picked off, and Andrechuk starts back. Andrechuk for Wood. That was broken up by Newman, and then he lost it, but it was offside Toronto.
Toronto Maple Leafs are having lots of babies this month of March. Dave Andrechuk is one of those players. He stayed last night as the Leafs chartered out after the game. His wife expecting any moment. Garth Butcher had a baby 3 weeks ago.
Well, Garth did, but his wife did.
Yeah, well, Garth did too. Come on now. Mike Ridley, another proud papa. Mike Gartner. Garth, that's Garth's 4th child. Mike Gartner, I think it's his 5th.
I think I called Mike Kurt earlier. Mike Ridley.
Kurt Ridley, we don't mind that. The goaltenders union would like that. We can.
A son Mark for Mike and Christine on Thursday of this past week. Comes back to the line for Groshek. He'll dump it in. Martin throws it up along the boards. Gilmore is checked by Mikulczyk. They battle for the puck in front of the Toronto bench, and it deflects into the bench, out of play. Pat Burns was saying that even though Doug Gilmore's point production is down this year, he's happy with the way his captain is working.
He's working hard, but he hasn't played with that feistiness that we normally see in the puck control that you normally see from Doug Gilmore. And when you don't have that puck control, your point production goes way down, and it's almost down a goal a game for Doug Gilmore this year. I should say a point a game, but he doesn't get a goal a game.
Groshek knocks it down to the corner for Domi. Domi was checked. It's around the boards to the other side, kept in by Mikulczyk. Mikulczyk trying to work his way in, looking for Domi in the corner. Martin trying to tie Domi up. Eagles comes in. Gilmore is in there as well. Martin and Domi continue to battle. Mikulczyk couldn't handle it at the point as Gilmore was able to clear. Now it's Wilkinson bringing it up ice for Winnipeg, driving it in deep. Nelson Emerson picks it up off the boards. Martin trying to check him. Domi continues to battle with Martin. The puck comes free. Now Martin picks it up. He finally gets it ahead to Gartner, and Gartner knocks it out to center. And behind the play, there's a penalty call as Keith Tkachuk, the Winnipeg captain, heads to the box.
today's world of beers, Molson Dry is in a world all its own. Molson Dry, a world without aftertaste.
In naming the all-new Mercury Mystique one of the 10 best cars, Car and Driver said you might easily mistake it for a much more expensive European sports sedan. But perhaps the most surprising quote of all is just $18,195 for this Mystique. priced so much less than a comparably equipped Nissan Altima and Honda Accord, the competition has no comment. Mercury Mystique. Compare for yourself at your Mercury dealer today.
Tkachuk with an elbowing penalty early in this game. The Jets, the most penalized team in the league, and the least penalized team in the league.
And Toronto is the number 5 power play in the National Hockey League. Keith Tkachuk with 116 penalty minutes. Only Ty Domi with 118 penalty minutes has been off the ice more. Toronto on the power play. Janssen lugs it up to center ice. Drove it in deep. Ridley couldn't get there in time, and it's fired out by Dave Manson. Manson pointing at Ridley, saying the puck went off Ridley.
Ridley's arguing that the faceoff should be inside. Don Koharski pointed outside the blue line. The Jets that time did a good job holding up and letting Dave Manson have some time. And that's something they haven't done well all season long. Their defensemen have been pressured on the forecheck and have turned the puck over many times in their own zone.
Winnipeg's penalty killing, very strong earlier in the year, has now slipped to 13th place in the NHL. It's gone down at the same time as their power play has gone from 3rd to number 7. Dallas Drake returning to the lineup last night after missing 3 with back spasms in a penalty-killing role for the Winnipeg Jets. He had a strong game last night for Winnipeg, scored the 2nd goal in the 3-2 loss. Andrechuk drives it in, the puck loose in front of the net. Here's the shot, a save by Javi Bulin off Marinoff. Shannon tried to get it out. It was knocked down by Wood and deflected out of play.
There's a case of a bad rebound that almost ended up right back in the net. Abibulin, this long wrist shot by Andrechuk. Abibulin kicks it right back out in front. Defenseman Dave Manson thinks that's going to go to the corner, but Manson has to block the shot. Manson's trapped in no man's land. He gets ready for the goaltending save, and he does block that one, but that's a bad rebound. That should have been steered to the corner easily.
1:03 remaining in the penalty to Keith Tkachuk. Chris King was in the penalty box 4 seconds into the hockey game, along with Warren Reichel for fighting, and Chris King had started to come out of the penalty box, and then as he got to the Winnipeg bench was told that he had to head back.
Couldn't read the clock very well.
Teponyumanen back into his own zone, gets an opening and clears. Barahowski trying to set things up as he starts out from behind his own net. To Todd Gill. Gill to center ice. He drives it in. Mike Eagles goes back to the corner after it. Takes a hit there from Gartner. Falls on top of the puck and pulls it underneath him, resulting in a whistle.
Mike Gartner started on the 4th line last night and was promoted quickly and played very well. Had a power play goal.
He's the most seasoned of all players in the National Hockey League in game experience, 1,194. Look at the experience of the Toronto Maple Leafs compared to the Winnipeg Jets top player Dave Manson tonight, playing in his 590th game.
Mike Gartner, one of the few guys that played in here in the WHA against the Jets.
Just 4 left in the National Hockey League. Todd Gill with a shot in front of the net. Gilmore was trying to redirect, and it was kicked away from him. Clearing attempt blocked by Barahowski. Over for Andrechuk. He couldn't handle it. Todd Gill gets it back to Barahowski. He shoots, fires it wide off the end boards. Gartner trying to jam it past, but Javi Bulin sprawls and keeps it out. And now there's a scrum at the side of the Winnipeg net. Players get sticks up at each other, but nothing more serious will develop.
Nikolai Habibulin made a good play after he was trapped out on that rebound off the boards. He got the arm down and took away the bottom of the ice. And when the Leafs were jamming away, he had it trapped underneath his glove. Berehowski makes a good play. Just gets it by the original checker. Habibulin reaches out with the left hand and makes sure that the Leafs can't slide it along the ice. Gardner got a goal last night on a tip-in from the same position on the power play. That time the puck was wide and no chance for a tip-in on that play.
You know, we saw the number of games that Mike Gartner has played in the National Hockey League. You have to play another 8 full seasons to catch up to Gordie Howe. Howe leads 1,767.
Have to play till he's 52.
Eastwood against Gillen. Gillen wins the draw. Manson is checked by Sutter. They try and tie it up. Sutter now kicks it free. Eastwood has it. He feeds the point. Berehowski shoots. The shot goes off a leg to the corner. Gillen gets it. Can't clear. In front of the net. Backhand shot by Berg goes wide. Sutter leaves it back of the net. Berg has it. Berg trying to move out front. Being watched by Shannon. It goes to Sutter. Back to Berg. Berg couldn't cut out front. He was checked by Shannon. Stays with it though. It's flipped to the other corner. Berehowski pinches in from the point. Now Tkachuk out of the penalty box, flips it around the boards, and starting away is Gillen. Gillen misses Tkachuk with a pass. Berehowski goes back after it, flips it around the boards. Timo Solani picks it up. Solani goes back to the net. He's checked. The puck still loose back to the Toronto net. Jamnoff having problems controlling it, and finally Gill moves it ahead to Berg. Berg dumps it into the Winnipeg zone as the Leafs make a complete change. Kulchuk's pass is picked off, fired back in by the Leafs. Kulchuk was out of the lineup for a week as the result of a foot injury. He returned last night. Jamie McCowan from the point, in front for Wood. Wood for Ridley. Rebound, and Andrechuk is stopped in front. Andrechuk fed it out front again. Nobody in position. Johnson comes in from the point. Back to the net for Andrechuk. Andrechuk taking his time. Trying to work out against Korolev. Still controls it. Andrechuk trying to get into position to shoot. Feeds the point. McCowan's long shot kicked out. The rebound to the line kept in by Johnson. He shoots, fires it just wide. Great pressure being exerted by the Leafs. Now it's Ridley from the corner. Spun around by Wilkinson. There's going to be a penalty.
The Jets, disorganized in their own zone, finally end up taking a penalty as the Leafs with good pressure. Nikolai Habibulin keeping his team in this game early in the first period. Neil Wilkinson reaches out, one hand on the stick, throws Mike Ridley down and takes a penalty. Ridley with that quick shot, Habibulin down, up to his feet, and able to get over and make the second save on Dave Andrechuk. Keith Tkachuk has a temper, and the Leafs try and take advantage of that. Bill Berg gives him a little shot. He's hoping Tkachuk will react, and Tkachuk showed good discipline on this play and didn't take a swing at Bill Berg.
Lack of discipline has been a problem for the Winnipeg Jets this year. And Keith Tkachuk, by his own admission, is one player who has taken some unnecessary penalties. The Leafs on the power play again. Teppo Numminen gains control. 3 Jets start away. Numminen to the line. His shot is deflected by Marinoff. It goes to the side of the net. Penalty coming up against Toronto as Dallas Drake was knocked down by Berehowski.
And that's a roughing penalty. Dallas Drake did a good job just getting in position. But Don, I think the Academy Awards are coming up tomorrow, and Dallas Drake could be a candidate on this one. Drake hits Berehowski. Berehowski goes down. Berehowski gets up and just gives Drake a little shove from behind. And Drake goes down and draws the penalty.
I think he may have assisted referee Don Koharski in making the call. Dallas Drake going down with Berehowski charged for roughing. Still 1:44 remaining in the penalty to Neil Wilkinson. They'll play 4 skaters aside. Still scoreless here at the Winnipeg Arena. The Leafs have outshot the Jets 6-0.
Drake Berehowski was used very sparingly last night by Pat Burns. Lots of ice early in this game.
Todd Gill goes back of his own net. Winnipeg didn't register its first shot on goal last night at Maple Leaf Gardens until the 10-minute mark. We're approaching the 8-minute mark of this opening period, and the Jets have yet to fire a shot at Felix Potvin. But maybe that's a good thing from a Winnipeg standpoint. Only once this year in 11 games where they've outshot the opponent have they won. Here comes Gartner, backhand shot. He fired it just wide. Now Tkachuk races after the loose puck. He has Emerson moving up with him. Tkachuk lost control. Todd Gill rides him out of the play, but Tkachuk perseveres, goes to the other side, gets it out to Quintal. Quintal in too deep, couldn't shoot it. Quintal still controls, looks back to the point for Emerson. Emerson shoots. Saved by Felix Potvin, and the loose puck is picked up by the Leafs. Gilmore leading the attack. Gilmore working his way in, looking for someone to give it to. Circles. Gilmore still controlling it, watched by Mikulchik. Gilmore turning in the corner. Mikulchik trying to stay with him. Now Tkachuk comes in to take Gilmore in against the boards. The puck is still loose in feet. Finally, it's picked up by Emerson. 24 seconds remaining in the Wilkinson penalty. Then the Jets will have a short power play. Manson broke his stick as he drove it in. 11:15 remaining in a scoreless opening period. Eastwood dodges a check. Feeds it across McCown. Long shot. Sent to the corner by Abby Bullen. Quintal moves it ahead to Solani. Solani breaking down the left side. The Jets now in a short power play. Solani goes for the net. Saved by Felix Potvin. Eastwood picks it up back of the goal. Solani using that great speed to drive towards the net. And Felix Potvin came up with a big save, his second of the hockey game.
Something he hasn't been doing on a regular basis. Hasn't even tried to do that in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
That's one of the problems with the play of Teemu Solani this year. He has not been using his great speed as he did in his rookie season. Solani back to Quintal. Long shot up high on Potvin. Rebound picked up by Korolev. Jansson's after him. Jansson started to go out to the right side. Now tries to reverse it up along the boards. With some help from Eastwood, the Leafs clear the zone, and back after it goes Quintal, and the Leafs make another change. Daryl Shannon redirects it out to center ice, picked up there by Domi. In across the line with Gillen. Domi trying to go to the net, knocked down by Andrechuk, and there's going to be a penalty.
Dave Andrechuk tackles Ty Domi, goes off, and the Jets have another power play.
There's a bomb here at the Broken Shower building. Everyone's been evacuated. The bomb squad has just arrived.
Looks like we got a real live wire here, Frank.
Time's ticking, Jack. Don't blow it.
Haven't missed one yet. Hey, what's that?
Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
Kellogg's Raisin Bran?
Yeah, you know, 2 scoops of plump, juicy raisins, whole grain flakes with bran. Now, come on, 2 seconds left.
2 scoops.
No, 2 seconds.
2 scoops of raisins and Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
This April, the Canadian Cancer Society will be knocking on doors all across Canada to raise money to help fight cancer. We know that if we're going to open the door to a cure, we've got to open doors in your neighborhood. So when we come to your door looking for a donation, please give. Who knows? A cure for cancer may be right on your doorstep. The fight against cancer has many faces. Will yours be one of them?
Ty Domi cuts to the net. Dave Andrechuk reaches out. Right hand, throws him down. Takes the penalty. Teemu Solani using his speed on Kenny Jansson, goes right around him. Had a chance to do the same thing last night, but turned. This time he goes right in, and Felix Potvin, a good save. The first save of the game for Potvin. And it's on a breakaway on Teemu Solani.
A holding call against Andrechuk at the 10:07 mark. And the Winnipeg Jets will have their first full power play of this hockey game. Draw comes back to Emerson at the point. His weak shot is blocked by Wood. Wood ahead to Ridley. And Wood goes offside as they hit the Winnipeg blue line. player that escaped from the Jets' backyard, played his college hockey at the University of Manitoba before going to the New York Rangers.
Asked for a tryout with the Winnipeg Jets when he was at college in Manitoba and was refused.
Emerson ahead to Solani. Solani gets to the line, looks rink wide, and it's broken up neatly by Martin and fired the length of the ice. That burns his confidence in young Martin, called up from St. John's on the 9th of March. He's out there in a penalty-killing role right now. Nelson Emerson gets to the line. Jamnoff fired it in off a Leaf player. And it comes back outside the line. The Winnipeg Jets last night really had problems setting up on the power play in Toronto.
The same thing tonight. They shoot it in. They got nobody skating.
Jamnoff works his way to the corner. Back to Solani. Solani feeds the point to Quintal. Back to Solani. To Quintal. Quintal, a weak shot that is knocked down. Butcher couldn't clear. Kept in by Quintal. Butcher goes to the corner after it. His clearing attempt blocked. Tkachuk gets it back to Quintal. Long shot right on, and Potvin covers up on the rebound, and Butcher ties up Keith Tkachuk.
Garth Butcher back from an injury. Played very well last night. Again, his physical presence tonight. At least a couple chances to get this one out. Butcher has a whack at it. Quintal ends up throwing it into Teemu Solani. Garth Butcher took a little while to adapt to Pat Burns' system, but has fit in the last road trip and then in their home game against the Jets last night.
13th year in the National Hockey League for Garth Butcher. 39 seconds remaining in the penalty to Dave Andrechuk. Johnson is checked by Groshek. Back at the point. Manson over to Newman, and his shot is blocked at the side of the net. Korolev tried to feed the point, and it was deflected down the ice by Eastwood. Manson got there first for Korolev. He leaves it for Drake. Drake goes in behind the net. He's checked. Drake gets the puck on a return feed from Groshek. He works his way back to the line. Over to Manson now. Manson shoots. That's deflected up high as it went off the stick of Eastwood.
Jets trying to get the point shot, Dave Manson, but it took too long to get that play to develop, and by the time Manson could tee it up, there was somebody there to deflect it up and over the glass.
Winnipeg associate coach Terry Simpson was saying one of the things he wants Manson to do is to shoot the puck more. Simpson coached Manson in junior hockey in Prince Albert. Simpson, an associate coach with the Jets, former head coach with both the New York Islanders and Philadelphia Flyers. He was saying Manson has a good shot, but has been somewhat reluctant to use it.
Heavy shot, usually keeps it low. Good power play type shot. Matt Sundin is in the Leaf dressing room. Well, we thought he was just cut, but he hasn't returned yet, so it might be a little more serious than that.
12 seconds remaining in the Andrechuk penalty. Draw comes back to Wilkinson. He has to wait for his mates to get on side. Then his pass is deflected. Gill goes back after it. He puts it high on the glass and out of play. And Andrechuk steps out of the penalty box. The Leafs are back at full strength. And this is icing against the Winnipeg Jets with 7:47 remaining in a scoreless opening period. Points, and the Vancouver Canucks at the moment the occupants of the final playoff position in the West. Todd Gill at the point, through traffic, lets his shot go, and the rebound is grabbed. They score. They bang it in. Warren Reichel, and there's an argument from the Jets
and the Lions
as to the legitimacy of the goal.
Abby Boulin is saying Warren Reichel knocked that across with a high stick. It wasn't knocked into the net with a high stick, but was the pass across knocked over with the high stick from Warren Reichel. And we could be going to video replay for this one.
I think Don Koharski is going to go over and consult with the linesman first and then skate over to talk to the video goal judge.
Shot from the point. It's off Javi Boulin's shoulder. He hits it up in the air, and Reichel, it's a hand pass. And Reichel passed it over with his hand, and it's banged into the net. But they're going to count it anyway. The shot comes through. Javi Boulin gets it off his shoulder, and Reichel swings, gets it off his elbow, and it's tapped into the empty net. I guess there was no intent. It was off his body. And the Leafs get one.
1-0 Toronto. Doug Gilmour is credited with the goal as Warren Reichel picked it out of the air. Javi Boulin juggled it, couldn't control it. And the Toronto Maple Leafs have a 1-0 lead.
And Doug Gilmour picked it out of the air. There was no question that his stick wasn't above his shoulder, but it wasn't a hand pass from Reichel to Gilmour.
Reichel and Gill draw the assists on the goal by Gilmour at the 12:20 mark of this opening period.
Let's figure out who this new computer is really for. You or them? All right, this is for you, this is for them, you, them, you, them, probably you and them, you if you get to the computer before they do, definitely you, them mostly, you sometimes, everybody really. If I talk about how it's built and backed and all that stuff, that won't help because that's good for both of you. Okay, how is this? It's for everybody, but it lives in your room. You'll work it out.
Play just underway with the puck fired down into the Winnipeg zone. Berg centering it. Kicked out by Javi Boulin. Wilkinson moves it ahead to Emerson. On the wing for Drake. Drake back for Tkachuk. He had problems controlling it. Drake gets it. Drake cross ice for Emerson. Emerson tried to get it back to Tkachuk, and it's intercepted by the Leafs. Back comes Gill. Eastwood goes for the net. In front, Sutter flips it towards the net. Too high for Eastwood. Eastwood trying to center it. It rolls right through the crease. And Mikulchuk moves it out to Tkachuk. And Drake went offside as McCowan and Tkachuk do some pushing and shoving at the Toronto blue line. And Bill Berg also gets involved.
Keith Tkachuk is going to go for that little extra push, and we talked about it, Don, the undisciplined penalties. He slashes at Jamie McCowan. That's fine. McCowan slashes back, but then he takes that little extra punch. And you have to know that that's just an undisciplined penalty. He's allowed a goal already. You can't afford to take a penalty like that and take the chance that you could give up another power play goal.
That's the second penalty of the hockey game for Keith Tkachuk. He drew an elbowing call earlier. This is a roughing penalty.
Now this is offside. McCowan gives him a little shot. There, that's no problem. That's no problem. That wasn't the penalty. There's the penalty. Now, he didn't have to do that. The slash was fine. He got away with that one, but then the right hand takes the roughing penalty.
John.
Nikolai Habibulin with the goal stick, not behind the goal line. He's got it in front, goes off the heel of his stick, and almost goes in. Goaltending school rule 101, put that stick behind the goal line.
Toronto leading 1-0 on a goal by Doug Gilmour, his 8th of the season. And the Leafs on the power play. It's fired the length of the ice by Teppo Numminen. Barahowski leaves it for Gilmour. Gilmour for Mironov. He shoots it in. Solani couldn't control it. Gilmour back of the net. He's checked by Quintal. It comes back to the line, and Solani is there ahead of Barahowski to clear the zone. 1:24 remaining in the Keith Tkachuk penalty. Gilmour had some problems controlling it, being watched by Jamnov. Following up on the play, Quintal flips a long shot towards the net, steered to the corner by Potvin. Aronoff back of his own net. 5:32 remaining in the first period. Toronto in front 1-0. Andrechuk's long pass broken up. Barahowski couldn't go anywhere with it. Teppo Numminen starts back for Winnipeg, and it's offside as Randy Gillen preceded the play across the blue line.
We've just been told that Matt Sundin has a mild shoulder sprain and is unlikely to be back. And that's bad news for the Leafs. good news for the Jets. Matt Sundin was by far the best player on the ice last night.
In 2 games against the Winnipeg Jets, Matt Sundin has 2 goals and 3 assists.
And now Pat Burns will really be able to get his defensive system working without Matt Sundin. And I wonder if Pat Burns is just being informed that he's not going to have Matt's back.
53 seconds left in the Tkachuk penalty. Manderville checked along the boards by Eagles. Johnson gets to the blue line. Flips it to the corner. Picked off there by Manson. Manson can't get it out. Johnson, a long shot knocked down by Manson. He couldn't control it. Now Ridley feeds the point. Johnson shoots. It's blocked by Drake, and Drake flips it out. Todd Gill now firing it in along the boards. Emerson can't clear. And there's a big collision along the boards as Manderville went into Emerson.
Manderville's getting a penalty for the hit on Nelson Emerson.
Emerson took the hit from Manderville after he attempted to clear the zone with 17 seconds remaining in the Keith Tkachuk penalty.
And it's a boarding penalty. Manson tries to hold Manderville up. Manderville kicks off Manson and then gets the elbows up on Emerson and takes the boarding penalty. A lot more emotion in this game than the one we saw last night.
A boarding sentence against Kent Manderville at 15-16. That comes with 17 seconds remaining in the Tkachuk penalty. As Pat Burns said, the first 2 periods last night at the Gardens were real yawners. The tempo picked up in the third with the Leafs winning by a score of 3-2. But he expected a more intense hockey game tonight here in Winnipeg in the return battle between the 2 teams. Johnson behind his own net for Eastwood. He's forced to circle back, leaving it there for McCowan. The Winnipeg Jets now in the power play. A lead pass for Eastwood, but it's across 2 lines.
Teppo Newman had made a good play. He could have tried to pick that pass off, but he knew Eastwood was offside, so he just let it go. And that's an intelligent hockey player. I asked John Paddock about Teppo Newman and why he doesn't try and play him like a Chris Chelios, like a Ray Bourque, a 40-minute man. He said physically Teppo just can't handle it. You see, Teppo at the last minute pulled the stick back. He knew the man was offside and just let Eastwood get the pass. And he said Teppo, after 25, 26 minutes, he fades and he tends to make mistakes towards the end of games when he plays too much.
Emerson for Jamnov. He can't do anything with it, and the puck is knocked down the ice. John Paddock would like to see some goals from Teppo Newman, and so far this year he has not scored a goal. And when Phil Housley left the team, they were looking for Newman to begin producing with more opportunities on the power play, but so far he hasn't scored. Here's Tkachuk trying to get into position to the line. Emerson to Jamnov. Jamnov gets it again, and his pass to Solani, and Solani could not handle it. Newman with a long shot that hits the body in front. The rebound fired by Jamnov and whistled down.
And there's going to be goaltending interference on Keith Tkachuk.
Tkachuk can't believe he's being sent off, his 3rd penalty of the period, interfering with Felix Potvin. And now Keith Tkachuk is the Winnipeg Jet leader in penalty minutes.
The shot comes from the point, and Keith Tkachuk takes a whack at Felix Potvin as the puck didn't go through, and up goes the arm of Don Koharski. The puck doesn't go through, and Tkachuk comes around and takes a chop at the stick of Felix Potvin. A lot of times he'll try and knock the goaltender's stick out of his hand. And I think that's what Keith Tkachuk is trying to do, get the stick out of his hand. But instead, he gets the interference penalty.
The third of the period for Keith Tkachuk, and already in this opening period there have been more penalties, 9, than there were in the entire game last night. In 54 seconds, the Leafs will have a power play. Mikulchuk back in his own zone. Manson upset Gartner. Gartner spun around, was looking for a penalty call. Drake works his way back to the line, tried to bank it in for Korolev. It went beyond his reach, and now Gilmore starts moving slowly up ice for Toronto. Can't go anywhere with it. Leaves it for Mironov. Lead pass at the blue line for Gartner that was almost picked off. Now Mikulchuk brings it in. His rink-wide pass goes off a skate, picked up by Drake. Drake out front for Manson, wasn't in position to shoot. Manson flipped it towards the side of the net, knocked down there by the Leafs, and Gilmore dodges a check from Korolev as he works his way up to center. A lead pass too far for Gartner. Dave Manson gains control. He moves it rink-wide for Quintal. Quintal gets away from a check, trying to go for the net. He's tied up, back of the goal now for Korolev. Korolev trying to work out front. It's taken away from him by Gill. 2:32 remaining in the period. The Leafs now on the power play. Still 44 seconds in the Keith Tkachuk penalty. Toronto leading by a score of 1-0. Gill for Andrechuk. He chops it down to the corner. Teponyumanen is back after it. Wood pressuring him. Andrechuk comes in to fish the loose puck out of feet. Now for Ridley, rink wide for McCowan. Back to the line for Johnsson. McCowan's shot, that goes wide. It ricochets off the boards and back to center ice. 15 seconds remaining in the Tkachuk penalty. Ridley pushes it ahead to Andrechuk. He was off balance, couldn't control it, and Emerson shoots it back down into Toronto territory, and that should kill off the final seconds in the Tkachuk penalty.
That's a good job killing that penalty. Pursuit of the puck.
Johnson flips it to the corner. Wilkinson back after it. Wilkinson fires it down the ice. And now it's Garth Butcher in his own zone. Ahead for Sutter. Sutter is hit by Wilkinson. Ridley picks it up. Berg drives for the net. Ridley into the slot. Ridley gets set. He shoots. Save. The puck is loose, and Abby-Bullen dives on it as Sutter went cruising through the crease looking for the loose puck, but couldn't get to it.
McDonald's introduces up.
And here's a moving slap shot, and it's headed right for the boy with the cards.
Patrick Roy.
Collect this limited edition of 40 NHL Stars. A pack of 3 cards, just 39 cents with any drink purchase. Only at McDonald's.
Really like my job.
Game tonight than the one last night at Maple Leaf Gardens, and so far we've seen that.
Well, he has to be pleased with the play of Doug Gilmore. He's had control more tonight in the first period than he had in 3 periods last night.
Loose puck at the side of the Winnipeg net, picked up there by Newmanen. Newmanen moves it ahead to Chris King for Ty Domi. These two with Thomas Steen last night, the Jets' most effective line. But Thomas Steen is out of the Winnipeg lineup tonight with a knee injury. King and Butcher did a bit of pushing back of the net, but nothing more is going to develop out of that. King was involved in an altercation with Reichel just 4 seconds into the game. During our first intermission, Coach's Corner with Don Cherry. Don and Ron McLean are out in Vancouver, where the second half of our doubleheader will originate tonight. And on Legends of the Game in our first intermission, the New York Rangers gag line.
Randy Gillen playing center between Chris King and Ty Domi is where Thomas Steen was last night. Steen out with a minor knee injury. Let's hope it's a minor knee injury.
We're into the final minute of the first period. Manson could not keep it onside against Sutter. Domi tried to fire it in. It hit linesman Swede Knox. Now it's brought out by McCowan to Berg. Berg was checked at the line. Manson moves it ahead to Domi. Domi goes in deep. Looking out front, it's blocked by Butcher. Butcher ties up Domi behind the net. Newmanen, a long shot wide of the net. Manson races in from the other point to flip it to the corner. Eastwood for Berg. Berg tried to get it out. King keeps it in. He shoots and fires wide. Newmanen flips it into the corner. Along the boards, Dave Manson and Berg had each other tied up. Puck comes out into the slot. Teppo Newmanen gets it. Berg without a stick. Manson unable to get a shot away as he was checked by Eastwood. Berg lost his stick and a glove in the altercation with Manson deep in Toronto territory, and there was no penalty call by referee Don Kowarski as the two went at it for quite a spell.
And it was one of those who was holding who, and I think that's why Don Kowarski didn't call a penalty. Jamie McCowan has been injured. He's looking at referee Kowarski, trying to get a call. A much more emotional, a much more physical game than we saw last night. John Paddock has to be pleased with that, and Pat Burns, without Matt Sundin, has to be pleased with the play of his star, Doug Gilmour. He played with a lot more zip, a lot more intensity than we saw from him in the entire game last night. Jamie McCowan and Chris King. McCowan's got his head down. King tries to lift the stick and instead catches McCowan in the face. And that one wasn't seen by Don Kowarski. King looked over to see if he was going to get it. Kowarski was looking the other way.
And McCowan, as he got up, also looked over at referee Kowarski to see if there was a penalty call. A nasty cut below the right eye of Jamie McCowan that will be tended to during the intermission. 1-0, the Leafs lead it. Now let's go down to Scott Russell at the Winnipeg bench.
All right, Don, we're here with Jets captain Keith Tkachuk. Keith, you were widely quoted before tonight's game as saying we better win this one or kiss the season goodbye. Tell us about that and about the effort in the first period.
Well, I mean, if we lose tonight, we're behind the 8 ball even more. We're in a tough situation right now. This is the team we got to beat tonight, and hopefully go on the road and you got to win over 500. But we got to start going right now, or we might as well just pack it in.
You certainly played a more aggressive first period than you did in Toronto last night. You took 3 penalties yourself. How about the discipline of the team and taking those kinds of penalties?
Well, I mean, I'm the worst one for it, I guess. I got 3 penalties tonight, and we don't need that. We're a big physical team, and we got the reputation of taking a lot of penalties, and we got to cut that down, and that was the worst one for it. So, I mean, if we can stay out of the penalty box and play 5-on-5, we get the men and the talent to win this hockey game tonight.
Keith, good luck tonight the rest of the way.
Thank you very much.
Keith Tkachuk, the captain of the Winnipeg Jets. Coming up, it's Don Cherry in the coach's corner along with Ron McLean. The score after the first period of play, the Toronto Maple Leafs 1, the Winnipeg Jets 0.
Coach's Corner with Don Cherry. Brought to you by Canadian Airlines. Building a better airline.
With more flights to Japan than any other airline, it's only natural that we've made an impression on this part of the world. Just another example of how the people of Canadian are building a better airline.
Whoa, I look good or what? I'll tell you that. I love it. Now look it. I want you to apologize to people, the hockey fans of Winnipeg, and what happens out there. You say they got a great arena. It's a lousy arena. The city council said, well, if Ron McLean says it's a good arena, you got to be careful. Wait a minute. You got to be careful when you're talking to 3 million people. You can't sit here and just yap your TV and get everybody mad at you like that. Be careful.
I like the rink in Winnipeg. I'll talk about this in After 40 tonight with the
experts. With the experts?
Yes, I'll have that. So stay tuned.
Folks, stay tuned. We got the experts will come in. Now, another thing, I want to say something about that Tobin guy.
Brian Tobin, yes.
Brian Tobin guy, what a guy. Gets boom, 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 boom. He gets the machine guns. You hear about the British sailors and the sun it had us like that. They fly the Canadian flag, not the Union Jack. They call their own government gutless. How about the British? Are they great? We bail them out of 2 wars, and when we need them with the fishing things, this major guy over there, he bails out on us. I'll tell you something. They're great people over there. Way to go, Tobin boy.
We're doing all right, I'll admit that. Brian looks good with the Navy. You look good in the Navy.
All right, what do you got for the
That's for
Vancouver
the end.
Canucks? Okay, yeah, should have.
All right, now.
I'll think of something different. Keep going. Vancouver, what's going on?
All right. Everybody asks me all the time, what's the matter with Vancouver Canuck? Everybody pussyfoots around. What's this? Well, this here, new coach, new this, Pat Quinn's not there. The reason is, and everybody knows the reason what it is, it's Pavel Bure last year in the 7th game using blackmail, saying, I either get $6 million or I don't play the 7th game. Now, what kind of a guy is that? That's exactly what happened. He did play the 7th game.
How do you know it happened?
It happened. Everybody, and it's all over. Everything happened. They signed the guy, Pat Quinn, good Irish guy, would never do that. The owner says sign him because they got a new building coming up and they need a superstar. Need a super. They're not selling out this year. Anyhow, that was wrong. Now you got Kirk McLean, who made the great save on Reichel. He's making $1 million. But and what about Adams? 2 overtime goals. Trevor. Now wait a minute. I'm getting a tree. Who's telling this story?
Oh, go ahead. You asked me about
all right. Trevor Linden, been with them since he's been 18. He's the captain. They won't even talk to him. He's making $1 million. Think about this, folks. The back pay that this guy wasn't going to play this year. He come to them this year. I'm not playing this year because unless I get my back pay. His back pay is more money than what Trevor gets. You telling me this is right? And Pat knew this was going to happen down the road. He knew he had to sign about 6 guys. The guys go in and say, well, wait a minute. What am I? Chopped liver here? You give this guy, think about it, $6 million. One more thing I'd like to say about him.
But it's before the courts now, but shouldn't they have given Pavel, if he's the guy, if you really believe he's putting people in the seats, and
he's putting them in.
Well, there's a lot going on in Vancouver.
And there's a lot going on.
Prices are up, etc.
Doesn't make any difference. Everybody knows what the problem is in Vancouver. You do not go from 2 goalposts from winning the Stanley Cup to not making the playoffs. They could not make the playoffs this year. Everybody knows. You're saying, well,
yeah, but last year they were a 500 hockey team, and then they went to the final.
Wait a minute.
LA was no
not
good.
like
Montreal
this year.
Much.
Not this year. This year they are Downsville. You got their veterans coming. You got them going. Everybody's ticked off. You know it. I know it. I'm saying. Pat Quinn knew it was going to happen, and it has happened. They could miss the playoffs, and it was because of one guy's greedy person. And I know we got to go. All I want to say is cut those nets. We got a new thing to cut those Spanish cheaters nets.
Right.
Cut them. Bob Cole says cut them, and let's not be a one-shot wonder, eh, Tobin? Let's keep going.
And with respect to Pavel Bure, no need for a ruling now because Don says it's all taken care of. You know.
What's that mean?
Well, I'm going to explain. You used to be like an alligator. Now we've got $1.5 million in dispute, and you're like a litigator.
Oh, wrap it up.
I liked you better when you were a croc. Don Cherry in the Coach's Corner on Molson Hockey Night in Canada.
A what?
On CBC. A croc.
Coach's
Croc of
Corner
what?
with Don Cherry. Brought to you by Canadian Airlines. Building a better airline.
Now, from the Purex pillow people at Scott Paper, new noticeably softer Purex bathroom tissue. You'll see and feel the difference in every two-ply sheet. It's so much softer, so much smoother. Pillowy soft, regular, and jumbo Purex. Now, noticeably softer.
The Leather Ranch, where quality and beauty does not have to be expensive. No middleman. The Leather Ranch designs and manufactures exclusive quality leather and suede garments right here in Canada. That means big savings on multi-styles. Whether casual, classic, Western, or high fashion, they have them all, including the largest Western boot collection anywhere at unbelievable prices. They will never be undersold on what they offer. Looking for the best? Shop where they sell the best. The Leather Ranch, Saskatoon, Scotia Centre, and Regina, Southland Mall.
He has to work in the field.
Saskatoon Farm Equipment, planning for the future. Look for the New Holland sign 1 kilometer north of Sask Place on Highway 16.
A new look, a new attitude. Leo's 9-Ball Palace, formerly Central Billiards, has always been one of the best pool halls in town, and now it's the biggest, with over 13,000 square feet, offering 32 8-ball tables, 3 snooker tables, foosball, ping pong, darts, video games, air hockey, fully licensed, and hospitality second to none. Why go anywhere else? No student or discount cards needed. Our prices are always great, so grab a friend or come alone. The party is waiting. Leo's 9-Ball Palace, where it's cool to play pool.
Let's go! Seeing is believing at your Ski-Doo dealer during Spring Break 96. Buy now and get up to $500 cash towards a new 96 Ski-Doo snowmobile with no payments until February 1, 1996. Plus, get special low Spring Break pricing. Spring Break 96. See the sleds, see the deals, see your participating Ski-Doo dealer for details before it's all gone. See the new Formula 3 and Spring Break 96 deals at your Manitoba, Saskatchewan Ski-Doo dealer. Call 1-800-3-SKI-DOO for a dealer near you.
One ambition, one style, one attitude. Then one day, it all ended.
You walk out of this team, you walk out of hockey,
A small-town boy who took on the big time and lost. Gross misconduct, Sunday, April 2nd.
Tonight, we continue our tradition of honoring those who've helped to contribute to hockey's rich heritage. Our focus this evening is the New York Rangers gag line on legends, brought to you by Ford of Canada, makers of the 1995 Ford Contour and a proud founding sponsor of the Hockey Hall of Fame and Museum.
Car and Driver has chosen their 10 best automobiles for 1995. Quite a select group. They all have the kind of safety features you would expect, like dual airbags, anti-lock braking systems, and reinforced body structure. They all have outstanding performance credentials, as you would expect. And they all have the kind of sticker price you would expect of a vehicle in such an elite group. All except one, the 1995 Ford Contour. It's nice to be in such good company, but not all the time.
For spring wheat, only one product does it all. Triumph Plus. In one pass, it controls wild oats, green foxtail, with the widest window of application from the 1 to 6 leaf stage up to emergence of the 3rd tiller. Plus, over 30 broadleaf weeds. Ask your neighbors who've used it. The results have been overwhelming. Triumph Plus from Agrivo.
When one company provides thousands of jobs and contributes millions to the provincial economy. When one company, a cooperative, does $2 billion worth of business a year with Saskatchewan farmers and has endured for generations, that company stands for the strength of an entire province and will continue to stand, to grow, to contribute. That company is the pool.
Union members provide high-quality goods and services in your community.
Judy Bamer, clerk at SGI and a union member.
Harvey Singh, caretaker and a union member.
Rita Woolridge, special care aide and a union member.
Murray Waldall, steelworker and union member.
Union members do good things for people.
This message has been brought to you by the Saskatchewan Government Employees Union.
Best-selling vehicle in the country, bar none, makes you the target of everyone who thinks they've got a shot. So to stay number one, you've got to be ready to take on all comers, and your Manitoba Ford and Mercury dealers have a limited edition full-size Enforcer package to do just that. Driver's side airbag, rear ABS, 4.9-liter engine, styled steel wheel. You know, being the best-selling vehicle in the country, bar none, makes you the target of everyone who thinks they've got a shot. So to stay number one, you've got to be ready to take on all comers, and your Saskatchewan Ford and Mercury dealers have a limited edition full-size Enforcer package to do just that. Driver's side airbag, rear ABS, 4.9-liter engine, styled steel wheels, and special Enforcer striping, $15,995. Yeah, I thought so. Sorry, guys, there's only room for one number one in these parts.
Pat, last night in Toronto, the first period, a real sleeper. You said it would be a different game tonight. Your thoughts on this first period?
Well, we knew they'd come out a little bit more aggressive at us, and they did do that. They came out drop of the puck. It started right there. But we kept our cool. We know that they're going to take those kinds of penalties. I mean, that's the history of what they do. They come out, and if we can just stay disciplined and capitalize on a couple of more power plays and stay disciplined, we'll be able to score some goals. Fortunate things, we lost Mats in the first period there with a bad shoulder, so that's going to hurt us here in the second half of this game.
Thanks very much, Pat.
Matt Sundin just pushed into the boards by Michael Grosek and awkwardly went into the boards, and immediately he saw his left shoulder down and Mats was out.
The Leafs will be playing the rest of this game without Matt Sundin, and the Leafs are hoping that their leading scorer will not be out of the lineup for too long. Keith Tkachuk, I'm sure during the first intermission, was reminded by Coach John Paddock, if any reminding was necessary, that he cannot continue taking those undisciplined penalties.
Well, when they came back from their last road trip, they had a team meeting, and the players decided among themselves to fine each other for undisciplined penalties. I wonder who's in charge of the Kangaroo Court.
Nelson Emerson cuts off a clearing attempt, tries to get it back of the net. It's up in skates and then flipped down the ice by the Leafs with Manson going back after it. Winnipeg Jets, the most penalized team in the league. The Leafs, the least penalized. It's left for Emerson. Emerson back of the net, still controlling it for Shannon. Shannon shoots. He was checked just as he let it go by Randy Wood, and the shot went wide of the net. Emerson was unable to keep it onside. Back after it goes McCowan. The Jets making a change. Good pressure by Winnipeg to start the second period. Shannon and Ridley collide in the neutral zone. Now Ridley skates back into his own zone to pick up the puck as it was left there by McCowan. McCowan takes a return pass, but as he tried to hit Wood on the right side, it was deflected into the crowd. With an update, here's Scott.
All right, Don, well, we're off to Montreal where the Canadiens lead the Senators 1-0 on a first period goal by Brian Savage. Second period action now, and it will be Kirk Muller who takes the puck to the Senators' net. Muller will jam the puck. Don Beaupre makes the save, but there to tap in the rebound for his second goal of the year is number 18, Valerie Bure, the brother of the Rocket. 2-0 Montreal over Ottawa.
And the question for fans on the West Coast tonight is whether or not Pavel Bure will be in the lineup of the Canucks in the second half of our doubleheader against the Red Wings.
He's missed the last two games with a banged-up knee. And people are speculating that's why he hasn't been the Russian Rocket. He's had knee problems all year.
Here comes Zhamnov. Zhamnov looking in front for Solani, and Solani couldn't redirect it. He was tied up by Mironov, and there's going to be a penalty against the Maple Leafs.
Teemu Solani could do that with his speed. He forces you to take penalties. And Dmitry Mironov with the hook on Teemu Solani. Referee Don Koharski is right there to make the call. Solani's speed around Mironov on the outside. He continues on. Mironov has stopped skating, reaches out, hooks him down, and takes the hooking penalty.
So 1:28 into the second period, the Winnipeg Jets will go to the power play. A power play that at one point this season ranked number 3 in the league has dropped down to 7th. The Jets on their Previous 28 power play opportunities coming into this game had scored just 2 goals, but those were negated by the 2 short-handed goals they had given up. Quintal flips it to the corner. Zhamnov goes after it to the other side for Solani. He couldn't reach it, and Eastwood clears. Eastwood takes a hit from Quintal, and then Gill runs over Quintal.
Along the boards, the Jets have not done a good job with the man advantage. Another case there, threw it around the boards, nobody there, and the Leafs were able to get it out.
Manderville picks off a pass by Emerson. Emerson gobbles up the shoot-in, moves it ahead to Tkachuk. He couldn't control it. Zhamnov is forced to circle back by Eastwood, and the fans are growing a little impatient with the Winnipeg power play. Emerson for Quintal. Quintal drives it in deep. Tkachuk goes to the corner. Tkachuk frees it, tries to move out into the slot to Quintal at the side of the net for Solani. He couldn't get a shot away. Solani back to the point. Quintal's long shot. Tkachuk was in front of the net. He couldn't redirect it. Solani back to Quintal. Quintal shoots. Saved by Potvin, and he holds on. The word on Matt Sundin is that he has suffered a mild shoulder sprain as a result of that bump into the boards by Michael Groshek in the first period.
Second team in the NHL to score 15,000 goals. The Toronto Maple Leafs and Montreal Canadiens, the other team. Doug Gilmour gets the historic goal. And I think it was Eric Desjardins who got the 15,000th for the Montreal franchise.
Who got the other 14,999?
Nikolai Habibulin couldn't handle that shot, and Gilmour had the 15,000th goal and a little bunt play from in front.
Numminen into the corner. Return pass for Numminen. Back to Korolev. Korolev trying to get set. Won't shoot it. Now lets it go. Saved the rebound, and Groshek at the side of the net was battling for the puck with Martin and Groshek, the 19-year-old rookie, and Martin were really going at it. Martin wound up in behind Felix Potvin, but the puck stayed up.
Groshek paying the price, taking the beating in front to try and get that tip in. Groshek was sent to the minors for conditioning to play more. Called back up. Groshek's there, has a tip-in try. Martin gives him a couple of shots. Felix Potvin finds the puck. Martin first on Dallas Drake, comes across off Groshek. Martin gives him a good shot, but Potvin's already got it in his glove.
Groshek won't be 20 until June. He made his National Hockey League debut with the Winnipeg Jets against Toronto at Maple Leaf Gardens on April the 10th of last year. .35 seconds remaining in the penalty. Back to the point. Manson gets set. There's the shot. Pad saved. The rebound. Groshek is stopped by Potvin, and the Leafs clear.
And Potvin so quick, down and up. The save on Manson, right back to his feet. Perfect position to make the save on the rebound.
The Leafs forcing the Jets in their own zone. Ridley leaves it along the boards for Wood. Now Manson moves it out to Numminen. 7 seconds remaining in the penalty. Over to Groshek. Groshek shoots the save and the rebound. Dallas Drake was handcuffed by it. Couldn't get a shot away. Back to the point, Manson. The Leafs at full strength. Numminen with a shot. They score! Redirected by Drake.
And that's not a power play goal. The Leafs barely back to full strength. Manson to Numminen, quick wrist shot. Key to the play, get that shot away quickly. Dallas Drake tips it down. Numminen takes the wrist shot. Instead of trying to tee it up, Teppo Numminen just wristed it towards the net. And Dallas Drake makes the easy tip in on the shot that wasn't so hard. And a good tip in by Dallas Drake.
Dallas Drake with his 5th goal as Igor Korolev looks on. Dallas Drake with a goal last night, late in the hockey game at Maple Leaf Gardens. He now has 5 in the season. His first 3 were against the Calgary Flames. So the game is tied at 1. The Jets scoring just after the penalty had expired. Here comes Gilmore. His shoot-in is blocked. Going the other way is Randy Gillen. Gillen shoots. Saved by Potvin, and Potvin covers up. 16:04 is the time remaining in the second period.
He scored in back-to-back games this year. The snap shot by Teppo Numminen just directs it at the net, and there's Dallas Drake to get it down and one hop past Felix Potvin.
Dallas Drake, a native of Trail, BC, who came to Winnipeg from Detroit. Here's the shot. They score as Wilkinson lets it go.
What a shot by Neil Wilkinson. Warren Reichel goes out and gets beaten by Wilkinson. Doug Gilmore goes out, tries to block the shot, and Wilkinson gets it by him. Reichel makes the first mistake. Goes down, misses him. Gilmore makes the second, tries to block it, misses it. No chance for Felix Potvin.
So the Winnipeg Jets have a 2-1 lead as the puck is fired deep into Toronto territory. McCown is back to touch it, and this is icing against Winnipeg. Neil Wilkinson, the goal scorer for the Jets.
Right from the face-off, Randy Gillen won the draw cleanly off Doug Gilmore, and Wilkinson did the rest.
Only the second goal of the season for Neil Wilkinson.
Jets going to the net, but it was Doug Gilmore out trying to block the shot that was the original screen on Felix Potvin.
Goals 27 seconds apart. Neil Wilkinson scoring to give Winnipeg the lead for the first time in the hockey game. Back at the point, Jamie McCowan gets set. His shot through traffic, and that went off a leg to the far corner. Behind the net now, picked up by Manson. Manson off the boards for Emerson. Lead pass for Tkachuk beyond his reach. Johnson is back after it. He shoots it down the ice with 15:30 remaining in the second period. Winnipeg leading by a score of 2-1. Tkachuk goes after a loose puck in the corner. Tied up there by McCowan. He moves it ahead to Berg to Sutter. Sutter working against Shannon. Shannon knocks him off the puck, knocks him down. Berg goes after the puck in the corner, dodges a check. Nelson Emerson was looking at Berg, thought he had him lined up, and Berg spotted him at just the last moment. Icing is waved off as Marinoff picks it up behind his own net. Groshek checks Todd Gill. Groshek keeps the puck in the Leaf zone. And Potvin covers up against Keith Tkachuk.
Potvin was agitated because there was no icing call. That's why he covered it up, and now he's complaining. That puck came off the boards. And Potvin thought it hit the side of the net, and instead it hit him. Daryl Shannon one-on-one. Rich Sutter's not known as one of the great offensive stars. Daryl Shannon just gives him a shot, a good head-to-head, and a good straight arm in the chest. You don't get the holding penalty when you give the guy the straight arm in the chest.
Ridley moves it up to the line, kept in by Numminen. Now Marinoff flips it out to center ice. Jamnoff is checked. And Kentell saves it for Winnipeg, but now Andrechuk fires it back in, and Kentell retreats. Numminen sends Wood flying as he was racing in to try and force the defenseman Stefan Kentell. Numminen keeps the puck in the zone. Marinoff goes back of his own net. Solani is checked. Ridley takes it behind his own goal. Now over to Todd Gill. He moves it ahead for Wood, rink wide for Marinoff. Marinoff flips it down into Winnipeg territory. He goes to the bench on the change. Kentell dodges a check back of the net. Wood thought he had them all lined up, and Kentell stepped away from him at the last minute. Jamnoff works in across the line against Martin, puts on the brakes. Martin trying to tie him up. Jamnoff kicks it free for Korolev. Korolev into the slot. Over to Solani, a shot right on. Jamnoff went driving for the net. against Martin, and they do some pushing and shoving behind the play, and the fans react to that one. But it's an offside call against Toronto that results in the whistle.
And now there's about 8 guys from each team on the ice. Ty Domi came over and had words with Matt Martin.
Martin lost his helmet initially along the boards in the battle with Janov, and they continued battling in front of the Toronto goal and Felix Potvin.
Martin gives Janov the shot from behind, and that's why the fans here were complaining, and Don Koharski didn't make the call. Janov went down pretty easily, but Koharski has been making that retaliation call. The one that he gave to Keith Tkachuk in the first period wasn't as bad as that one.
Prior to that, Teppo Numminen took Randy Wood out of the play with a
little pick play. And when a team is known as a high penalty team like the Winnipeg Jets, you can afford to take a dive like that. Maybe the referee will make the call because the Jets are known as a high penalty team.
Domi cuts off Jamie McCowan at the blue line. He and Reichel battle for it. Reichel comes away with it, but can't get beyond the Winnipeg blue line. Now it's Gartner racing after the loose puck. He and Manson go to the corner. Manson got there first, and Chris King flips it off the glass and down the ice. A race for the puck. McCowan got there ahead of Ty Domi, and it's an icing call against Winnipeg. 12:50 is the time remaining in the second period. In the Pacific Division of the National Hockey League. Gartner from the face-off goes to the corner. Manson is watching him, and the Winnipeg defenseman skates out with the puck. Manson gets to center ice, drives it to the corner. Reichel prevents Tkachuk from getting to the puck. Barahowski flips it to the other side for Gilmore. He can't clear. Long shot that Groshek attempted to redirect. Emerson let it go from the point. Blocked by the Leafs. Barahowski to his defensive partner, McCowan. McCowan up to the line to Gartner. It's an offside pass.
We got a penalty being called. Don Koharski, a kneeing penalty. Daryl Shannon. Shots in this period are 11-1 in favor of the Winnipeg Jets. They've really carried the play. They've played with a lot of emotion. Daryl Shannon is trying to push Doug Gilmore offside. Gets the stick out. I would have called that tripping instead of kneeing, but it's a penalty nonetheless, and the Toronto Maple Leafs have a power play.
7:45, the penalty against Daryl Shannon. Don Koharski called it kneeing against the Winnipeg defenseman, and John Paddock raises a rather quizzical eye about the call by Koharski. Toronto trailing by a score of 2-1. The Leafs had the only goal of the first period. The Jets have come out flying in the second, and they've been rewarded with a pair of goals. 2 goals, 27 seconds apart. An icing call against Toronto. Let's go down to ice level, and here's Scott.
Well, thanks very much, Don. I'm joined by Barry Schenkero, the president, owner, and governor of the Winnipeg Jets. You know, everybody talks about the playoffs May 6th, but May 1st, very important to the long term of the Winnipeg Jets, the approval of the new arena. How firm is that deadline?
Scott, it's imperative because if the governments and the volunteers who are trying to put the deal together haven't got together by May 1st, then the team's just not going to be able to stay in Winnipeg.
We hear about overtures from Glenn Taylor in Minneapolis about moving the team there. How serious are those?
Well, I haven't talked to anybody about moving the team or selling the team. I'm going to wait till May 1st, and hopefully the deal can be done in Winnipeg. It's tough, but we have to wait till May 1st to see what happens.
I want to ask you a quick question. Are you encouraged? Do you think it'll stay?
I think it's 50-50. I think the politicians have to get their act together and come. You know, it's a partnership between the private sector and the public sector, and that partnership has to be forged. If it's forged, I know the private sector is ready to do their part.
You've got a full house tonight. I want to ask you one more thing, and that's to talk about the fact that Gary Bettman said there would be equalization for small market teams. Is that happening? Are you pleased with the progress that the commissioner's making?
Well, we've met with the commissioner's representatives, and they understand the problems vis-a-vis the Canadian dollar and the small markets, and I think the league will do its part. I think it's up to the governments here to do their part.
Barry, thanks for taking the time.
You're welcome.
Barry Shankaro of the Jets. Back up to you, Whit.
And you have to wonder whether all this debate about a new arena, whether or not the team will remain in Winnipeg, has any impact on the players.
I'm sure it does, but it's a sad state for all hockey fans in Canada if Winnipeg loses its team.
Well, let's hope that come that May 1st deadline, the news will be that the Winnipeg Jets will remain in the Manitoba capital. 1:15 remaining in the penalty to Daryl Shannon.
Jets have done a great job killing this penalty. Shamnoff catches it, throws it, left-handed, gets it out over the blue line. The Leafs haven't been able to carry it over the blue line and get set up. They iced it once and have been offside twice.
Ridley and Eagles tie each other up. Manson races back after the loose puck. He'll take his time and then drive it the length of the ice. Here comes Todd Gill. He has Mironov with him. He drives it into the Winnipeg zone. Eagles kicks it back to the net. Ridley gets it there. He's checked by Wilkinson. Now it's Andrechuk feeding the point. Gill was on his backhand. Back to Andrechuk. He leaves it there. Ridley for Gill. Back to Ridley. Ridley back to the point to Gill. Gill shot through traffic. Knocked down in front of the net. They can't clear. Jamnoff couldn't get it out. Ridley cross ice to Mironov. Mironov with a shot off a leg. Ridley races over to the blue line, leaves it there for Gill on a neat play to Mironov. His shot goes off Manson's stick. Manson tied up in the corner, manages to get free, flips it up high. Eagles tries to chop it out. He can't get it out, but Wilkinson will drive it off the glass and down the ice.
Pat Burns watching his power play, throw the puck around the outside, but not getting any shots. They haven't had one shot on this power play. They've been outshot 11-1 here in the second period.
2 seconds remaining in the penalty to Shannon. Now the Winnipeg Jets are back at full strength as they fight for the loose puck in the corner. Dallas Drake trying to tie it up. It goes behind the net for Gartner. Gartner trying to work out front. He now leaves it behind the goal for Gilmore. He's checked by Newman and out for Gartner. His shot saved by Habby Bullen. Mironov wheels and fires. Reichel couldn't get a shot away as he was checked by Dallas Drake, and now it's Shannon leaving it there for Randy Gillen. He shoots it in as the Winnipeg Jets make a change. 9:39 remaining in the period. Puck loose at center ice. Groshek with a backhander deep into Toronto territory. Butcher reverses it to Mironov. Ahead to Reichel. Reichel flips it high and down the ice, and Wilkinson, who scored the go-ahead goal for the Winnipeg Jets, moves it ahead slowly to Groshek. Rink-wide pass for Emerson beyond his reach. McCowan loses it in his skates, but Emerson brings it in offside.
Welcome to Dodge Country, home to the Prairie's most exciting truck event. In Dodge Country, Ram offers the industry's most powerful choice of engines, the largest, quietest cab, and standard driver's side airbag. Or check out the 95 Dakota with an available Magnum V8, plus the safety of a standard driver's side airbag and side door impact beams. Hurry down to Dodge Country and make your best deal. Only at Canada's Truck Stop.
Jamie McCowan being pressured by Emerson behind his own net. Ahead for Sutter. Sutter plays it off Wilkinson to center ice. Eastwood tried to go rink wide, and it's intercepted by Emerson. The Jets have controlled the play in the second period. Emerson along the boards. He and Johnson battle for it. It comes free for Tkachuk. Tkachuk out front. Groshek shoots. Saved by Potvin. Felix Potvin has robbed Michael Groshek from close range.
Keep his team close.
Here's Tkachuk again for Groshek. Groshek shoots, he scores! Third time lucky.
And the puck standing on end. Burns some frustration. The defense flat-footed at the blue line. Kenny Johnson reaching. The puck is standing on end when Groshek shoots it. And it's like a lacrosse shot. It's so hard for the goaltender to read because the player has it cupped in the curve of his stick and just throws it at the net. And it beats Felix Potvin short side.
Only the second of the year for Michael Groshek. We said at the start of tonight's telecast that John Paddock wanted some scoring from other sources than his big three, and he's been getting it. Michael Groshek, Neil Wilkinson, and Dallas Drake scoring in this second period for a 3-1 Winnipeg lead.
And rightfully so. And who did more than this man to put it on the musical map? Merle was born in Bakersfield on April 6, 1937. And he has since lived his share of ups and downs. His downs have helped make him one of the best songwriters in our business, and his ups have brought us all a little something special from his music. And his success was able to feed his mama's hungry eyes. This covered cabin in a crowded paper can stand out in this memory I remember.
Earlier this month, Michael Groshek was logging frequent flyer miles between Winnipeg and Springfield as he was up and down to the American Hockey League affiliate 3 times. And tonight, after being robbed on his first 2 tries by Felix Potvin, he beats him for a 3-1 lead. Loose puck at the side of the net. Solani tried to center it for Korolev, and Potvin knocked it in the corner just in the nick of time. Manson tried to keep it onside, but evidently the puck slid out across the blue line.
Pat Burns, without his best offensive weapon, has to play catch-up. Not pleased with that last goal. Scored on the rush, and a good defensive team. Everybody was in position, but the defensemen were flat-footed. The Jets good motion. And the Leafs were scored on. Sundin out for the rest of this game. Doug Gilmour had a strong first period, but we haven't noticed him much here in the second.
Detroit at Vancouver, the second half of our Hockey Night in Canada doubleheader. Following this game here at the arena between the Jets and the Maple Leafs, with Winnipeg in front by a score of 3-1.
Pat Burns shuffling the lines around. We've got Todd Gill and Kent Manderville playing up front with Doug Gilmour.
Manderville dumps it to the corner. Racing back after it is Chris King. He got there ahead of Todd Gill for an icing call against the Leafs.
Todd Gill, the longest serving Maple Leaf player, normally a defenseman, now playing right wing with Doug Gilmour. I guess he's trying to pad his offensive stats. Big comeback, you get to play with the killer.
Well, we talked earlier about the experience of the Toronto Maple Leafs and the number of players who have 800 or more National Hockey League games. Todd Gill has been a Leaf since the 1984-85 season.
When you dress 7 defensemen, you can always throw one up. Dave King does that a lot with the Calgary Flames. Kevin Dahl is his usual defenseman forward.
Something else Dave King did a couple of years ago when his power play was really struggling, threw out 5 defensemen on a power play.
Leafs have 1 shot on 5 power play attempts, and I'm sure Pat Burns will be looking at his power play like John Paddock did after last night's game.
McCowan pushes it ahead to Manderville. He frees it for Gilmour, who was looking to feed it through the center for Todd Gill. It was broken up by the Jets. Mironov runs into Chris King and goes down hard. Now King is down, and he appears to be hurt as Manderville works his way in, shoots and fires wide. King trying to get back into the play, and he is really favoring his, it looks like his left leg, and obviously he feels that Doug Gilmour was involved in that incident somehow, and now King is knocked down, and this draws a crowd as Gill came to the defense of his captain.
It was Dmitry Mironov who ran into King, but it was King who had Mironov lined up. And oftentimes that happens. It's the hitter and not the hittee who gets hurt.
Now Todd Gill is being escorted to the penalty box.
And Pat Burns talking about, well, we'll have to be disciplined. Todd Gill came flying in, and Gill could be the only one going after this little altercation, although Mike Eagles now is headed over.
Well, Eagles had started over to the penalty box, and now he heads back as though he's getting set to resume play. And the only penalty assessed to Todd Gill.
Chris King has his ankle, and it hits Mironov, and Mironov's skate hits Chris King's ankle. And you can tell he's hurt right away, the left leg. Mironov looks. King is trying to get to the bench, and Todd Gill comes in over Swede Knox. And King was trying to get at Gilmore, and Gill came in to intervene, and Gill gets the penalty.
So the Winnipeg Jets, leading by a score of 3-1, will have the power play as Todd Gill draws 2 minutes for roughing at 12:41 of this second period. Eastwood facing off against Alexei Zhamnov. Winnipeg dominating play in the second period after the Leafs scored the only goal of the first period. Quintal leaves it behind his own net for Nelson Emerson, being watched by Eastwood. Emerson for Zhamnov to Tkachuk. Tkachuk goes in deep, flips it around to the other side for Solani. Solani couldn't control it, and the Leafs clear. Solani forced back in his own zone by Eastwood. He leaves it there for Nelson Emerson. Gartner is on him quickly. The two go down, and finally Tkachuk comes back to free it for Zhamnov, but Zhamnov is having problems working out of his own zone. Emerson lost his helmet in that collision with Gartner. Now it's Zhamnov weaving his way in across the blue line. Zhamnov is knocked down. The fans react. The puck comes back to the line to Quintal. Quintal fires it up high along the glass. At the other point, Emerson manages to keep it in. Takes a big hit in the process from Martin, and Emerson is hurt.
And now Tkachuk goes after Martin.
Emerson, who had lost his helmet earlier, banged his head on either the boards or on the ice after the hit from Martin.
And Nelson Emerson being attended to. Now this is what I don't mind. Keith Tkachuk, you're ahead by a couple of goals. You see one of your teammates get bowled over. He doesn't have his helmet on. You go and you react to a play like that.
Emerson, as he skates off to the Winnipeg bench, has words for Matt Martin.
Now Matt Martin has Emerson lined up and jumps at him. And Emerson's down. Keith Tkachuk comes in to react to that hit. So it'll only end up being a minute power play for the Leafs anyway, because Todd Gill's already off for a minute. So that, I don't mind that one near as much as that one he took in the first period.
The fourth penalty of the hockey game for Keith Tkachuk, a roughing call against the Winnipeg captain. It's always one of the dangers when you lose your helmet. If you're involved in a collision along the boards, you'll either bang your head in against the glass or the boards, or when you fall, against the ice. With an update, let's go to ice level, and here's Scott Russell.
All right, Don, 3-1 for the Jets here. A couple of minutes ago, we told you it was 3-1 Montreal over the Senators. Here's the goal that made it so. Ottawa 2 men short. Brian Bellows to Matthew Schneider. He hits Chris Dahlquist, and then the net is 4th of the year. 3-1 Montreal over Ottawa at the Forum.
An identical score here for the home side. The Leafs trailing the Winnipeg Jets. From the faceoff, Drake, quick shot blocked, gets it again, saved by Potvin. It's loose at the side of the net, and Potvin, with a second effort, is finally able to grab it.
He still didn't know he had it. Dallas Drake off the faceoff just jumped right by and had 2 good chances. Drake jumps by Ridley. McCowan blocks the first shot, but then Drake pulls it again, has a shot, and jams away at the rebound. Potvin had no idea where it was, but it was underneath his body.
In 51 seconds, the Leafs will have a power play of 1 minute and 2 seconds. Jamie McCowan takes it back of his own goal. The Leafs will have a power play if, of course, there are no further penalties. Kulchik, with help from Korolev, gets the puck out to center ice. Kulchik now goes back after it. He takes his time. Korolev cuts in front of his own net, gets away from a check from Ridley. Weaves his way to the Toronto line, leaves it there for Drake. Drake gets set, didn't shoot it. In position, but wouldn't let it go. Now Newmanen moves in front. Newmanen still controlling it, takes a shot off a stick, knocked down by Korolev, but he couldn't control it, and the Leafs fire at the length of the ice. Here's a lead pass for Gillen, going in alone, saved by Potvin. Randy Gillen still looking for his first goal of the season. Stopped on the breakaway by Potvin. Randy Gillen now chasing the puck down in his own zone in a penalty-killing role, can't clear. Verahowski's long shot. Gilmore at the side of the net, tied up by Manson, and this time Gillen is able to clear.
Gilmore and Habibulin a little pushing and shoving as Gilmore was in the crease. The Leafs get their second shot on goal with the man advantage.
28 seconds remaining in the power play.
And only their second shot this period. 16-2.
Drake Verahowski works his way out for Johnsson. The pass was behind him. Here's a race for the loose puck. And Potvin comes out of his net against Stefan Quintal. Andrechuk to center ice. He drives it in. It takes a strange bounce and almost came directly out in front of Habibulin. The Winnipeg Jets back at full strength. A long shot off the post. The puck bounces in front of the net. Gartner had a chance. Andrechuk had a chance. Here's Tkachuk, knocked down by Verahowski. And the puck is deflected over the glass and out of play. Frantic action all around the Winnipeg net, but Gartner and Andrechuk could not score. .403 remaining in the period. The Leafs came dangerously close to getting their second goal of the hockey game.
Dave Andrechuk, for a big man, has such good hand-eye. Beside the net, gets in position. He's hard to move. The first tip in, the second whack off the post. And Mike Gartner just can't make contact with that rebound. He was circling by. He just didn't stop. The puck bounced over his stick.
Dallas Drake having another strong game for the Winnipeg Jets tonight. He scored a goal last night in a strong performance at Maple Leaf Gardens and got Winnipeg's first goal of this hockey game. Ty Domi moves it ahead for Drake. Long shot just wide. McCoolchuk beaten to the puck at the blue line. Wilkinson, his defensive partner, fires it back in, picked up by Drake. Drake circles in the corner, flipped it back of the net for Ty Domi. Out front for Drake. Drake tried to go across ice to King, and it slipped by him, and it slipped down the ice with Eastwood going after it. For Berg, and he's stopped by Habibulin. He wasn't sure where the puck was. Out front for Berg again. Another shot. The puck is loose. They score. Berg. Perseverance pays off. It's 3-2.
to get the original chance. Habibulin makes the save but can't cover it up. Domi looks around, Habibulin can't find it, and now the scramble. Sutter gets it out to Berg, the original save, they can't clear it, everybody's fishing for the puck, and finally Berg gets it up and over Nikolai Habibulin.
Bill Berg had about 4 opportunities to whack away at the loose puck and finally got it past Habibulin to cut the deficit to a single goal. And for Rich Sutter, who drew an assist on the goal, his first point as a Maple Leaf. Last night it was his 5th game as a Maple Leaf at the Gardens, but the first time he had played in Toronto as a member of the Leaf organization. He joined the team on a 4-game road swing. Teemu Selanne racing down the right side. Selanne goes back to the net. Selanne looks out front and it goes off a skate. Jamnov picks it up in the corner. Jamnov moves into the slot. Tried to feed it across to Selanne. He gets it again. Jamnov for Selanne. Saved by Potvin. Butcher can't clear. Jamnov in behind the net for Korolev. Korolev circles to get away from a check. Korolev looking back to the point, feeds Newman, and Newman shoots. That goes off the blocker of Potvin. Selanne picks it up in the corner. Into the slot for Korolev. He couldn't shoot. Selanne gets it. He's checked. And the loose puck picked up by Jamie McCowan, and he'll move it out to Ridley. Ridley banks it off the boards for Wood. Wood tied up and checked by Newman. Now Selanne leaves it there for Korolev, then takes a hit from Mironov, and Selanne is slow in getting up as the Leaf defenseman picks up the puck at the line. And Selanne takes a wicked slash at Mironov and is going to get a penalty, the first penalty of the year for Teemu Selanne. And that was a definite undisciplined penalty for Teemu Selanne, and that's what the Winnipeg Jets have done so often this season.
And he's lucky he doesn't get 5 minutes for that one. That came right out of left field. Teemu Selanne makes a pass and then gets hit. There's no call on that one. Selanne's right there. He sees Don Kowarski follows the play, and Selanne with the two-hander right out of left field. And he's lucky that's not a 5-minute major in a game.
Slashing against Selanne at 18:04, the first time he's been in this position this season, his initial penalty of the year. Mironov, even though the Leafs have 7 defensemen dressed tonight, has logged a lot of ice time. And he took the vicious slash on the backside and is in some obvious discomfort.
He's played very well. He's been a physical presence for Pat Burns.
Gilmore against Gillen. The Leafs without Sundin, their leading scorer. He was hurt in the first period. Has not returned for the second. Gilmore along the boards, checked by Gillen, and Gillen flips it down the ice.
Jets have done a good job killing penalties, and when you take stupid penalties like that one, you better hope your penalty killers do a good job.
McCowan drives it in. Gillen gets there first. They can't clear as McCowan does a good job of keeping it onside. Manson and Reichel battle in the corner. The puck winds up under Manson, resulting in a whistle with 1:22 remaining in the period. John Paddock has stressed almost since opening day that his team cannot continue taking undisciplined penalties. But obviously that message has not got through.
I guess when you're going to take your first penalty of the year, you want to make sure that there's no doubt that it's going to be a penalty. Teemu Selanne just whacked at Mironov right out of left field. The baseball strike would have liked that one.
I don't think there was a spectator in the place who missed the vicious slash that Teemu Selanne put on Dmitry Mironov. Coaches never complain about action penalties. It's reaction penalties that they get upset about, and that was definitely a retaliation penalty by Selanne.
All the little cliches that they use: initiate, don't retaliate, and there's one that it was a complete retaliation.
Todd Gill works his way up to the line. Gill moves it ahead to Mironov. Mironov fires it in. Tkachuk goes back after it. Thanks, Ron, and at this time we say hello to viewers from coast to coast at the Winnipeg Arena. It's 3-1 or 3-2 for the Jets. Tkachuk in across the line, gets it over to Numminen, and Numminen simply flips it into the corner, back of the net. 40 seconds remaining in the period as Todd Gill drives it in. At the line, Mironov with a shot, he scores! So the penalty by Teemu Selanne enables the Toronto Maple Leafs to come back and tie it, and the man who was victimized on the slash by Selanne scores the goal that deadlocks this game at 3.
Does he get the goal, or does Dave Andrechuk get the goal? Dave Andrechuk goes to the net. The shoot around here, the Winnipeg boards are hard to read. Hababulin lets it go all the way around, and Mironov takes his shot right from the boards. Does Andrechuk tip that puck? I think he does. It gets up and over Hababulin. I think Dave Andrechuk should get credit for that goal. Shot from Mironov tipped up and over the goaltender.
Cantel having problems handling big Andrechuk in front of the net. This game is tied at 3 on the power play goal by Toronto. Now it's Eastwood with Berg going to the net. Berg, a backhand shot. Hababulin made the save. The Jets are fortunate that puck was deflected just as Berg reached out for it.
The Jets, who have dominated this period, showing their fragile confidence and fragile discipline. An undisciplined penalty to Selanne, and then get caught up ice on a 2-on-1 just after you've given up the tying goal. They gave Mironov the goal. Now, does Cantel tip this one, or does Dave Andrechuk? I think Dave Andrechuk tipped that one up and over Hababulin.
While Mironov let the shot go from the point, they have credited the Toronto defenseman, for the moment at least, with his 6th goal of the season.
Andrechuk's in front. He's got a stick on the ice, nice low shot, and it goes up off Andrechuk's stick and past Hababulin.
Well, it could be that the goal will be changed during the intermission, and that is coming up in 2 seconds from now as the teams will head to the dressing room deadlocked at 3.
A very strong period for the Winnipeg Jets, but a couple of mental lapses, and that's what's been happening to them all year. They come out, they play strong for 18 minutes, undisciplined, and bang, they're down again.
In our second intermission, our satellite second period hot stove. Here at the Winnipeg Arena, it's 3-3, Toronto and the Jets.
After 40 minutes. Brought to you by Owens Corning. We make the difference.
Tonight on After 40 Minutes, the NHL helps referees make their point, and a little Jacques talk as we explore the continuing woes of the Montreal Canadiens next. This is radio voice of the Vancouver Canucks. Jim Houston's with me here at the Pacific Coliseum in Vancouver. John Davidson's on the road with the Rangers at Le Colisée in Quebec City, and Al Strachan of the Toronto Sun joins us from the Broadcast Center in Toronto. Al, I hear the poor referees are getting it again.
Well, they got a message last week, a 2-page memo from Brian Lewis on some areas, and there's a video going out. This is the second time this year that they've sent out videos to the referees. It gives them ideas of what to call. The 4 specific areas that they are cracking down on a bit, not a major crackdown, because remember in California they decided they wouldn't do that, are running the goalies, because that's starting to get back into the game again. Running from behind, that's the one where they go into the guys just when they're a little bit out from the boards, and a couple of different kinds of interference.
I'm loath to say it because we deal with this interference topic every week and it won't go away in the league, but more and more teams are holding up in the neutral zone. And you know, of the top 15 scorers in the league last season, only 3 of them are in the top 15 right now, and more coaches and general managers around the league are starting to think it's not their players slumping, it's that they can't get through.
Guys, I don't think you're going to see the rules really put into place regarding the interference, especially in the neutral zone, until next training camp. And I think anytime next training camp you see a stick near one of the opposition players in his way waist, around his knees, around his shoulders, there's going to be a penalty. There's going to be a lot of penalties in preseason next year.
What about the Montreal Canadiens, JD?
Pressure, 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 Ronnie. Big story in the Montreal Gazette today about the problems and past history of Montreal's hockey club. They are in danger of missing the playoffs for the first time since 1970, and everybody's in an uproar. It's interesting, when the pressure hits there, it really hits the coach, and Jacques Demers has done a good job as a Montreal coach. However, he used to be at one time a color analyst for the Quebec Nordique right here in Quebec City, and he at one time was talking on the radio about Dave Chambers being fired or about to be fired as coach here in Quebec, and he's talking about how Chambers has got to be tough on his players and do this and do that. Well, in Montreal, the radio stations have dug up the old tapes, if you can imagine, and they're running those on the radio in Montreal about what Jacques Demers was saying as an analyst with somebody else to be fired. I don't think Jacques Demers is going to be fired. He should stay there. They need a centerman. They haven't had a good playmaking centerman in Montreal since Bobby Smith was there. And this is the one that kind of makes me a little bit shaky. There's some talk to straighten their organization out. They may have to trade Patrick Waugh to get those good players back, like a good quality centerman.
Al, do you see any coaches in trouble or any trades imminent with the deadline 13 days away?
Jock certainly isn't in trouble. At $800,000 a year, you don't fire people. I think coaches are lasting longer this year than they ever have because everybody is so close. I don't see any coaches in any serious trouble, no, not at the moment. There will be some trades, though, I think, and there is a story that keeps popping up. Brendan Shanahan is going somewhere. Now, Mike Keenan denies it, but that doesn't necessarily mean a lot. They'll probably be making some more deals. There's even a possibility that Steve Yzerman, who we were talking about, might go somewhere. He is not what he once was. If Detroit could get a big, solid defenseman to fill in there, Paul Coffey has been playing great offensively, get somebody to play a bit defensively, and now they've got a rock-solid team top to bottom.
Jim, we haven't mentioned Bury going anywhere yet on this installment of the Hot Stove League, but what about Vancouver? And I know San Jose is the other team you're watching out west that looks all mixed up.
Well, the Vancouver Canucks are going to have to do something. They still desperately want to move Gerald Diddick because he's asked to be traded, but they may do an awful lot more than that. But it depends on how they do here coming up to the deadline and how they have to react to that. In San Jose, it almost looks to me like they've decided that they're not even going to be in the pack this year. Remember the Big Five that got them to the second round of the playoffs last year? Makarov's on the bench, Larionov's on crutches, Garpenlov's gone to Miami, Norton's gone to St. Louis, Sanders Oslynch is the only guy there. What have you done for us lately?
JD, I want to just mention the Colisée in Quebec, and I'll get into the Winnipeg Arena here, but what are you hearing about the Nordique's future there?
I heard in watching you last Sunday afternoon that the Winnipeg Arena is a beautiful spot. So
it is a great rink. I love it, and I wasn't patronizing, but I'll get into it. What about the Colisée first?
I'm here in Quebec, and there's big talk here. They tell me, and everybody associated with the team is walking around with a sort of a long face right now. They think it's 50-50 that there'll be a new arena here. The Nordique feel are going to lose $10 million this year and somewhere between $12 and $14 million next year. What they want is a new arena put in place with the help of the government, and they also want not only have the new arena built with the governmental funds, they also want the government to support them until the building is built to cover their losses over the next couple of seasons. If not, they're going to move. And there's 5 or 6 cities that are very interested. The number one cities we all know is Phoenix, and that's a real deal, even though there hasn't been a formal offer from those cities. The study here has said that they need to make it work in Quebec City, a 19,000-seat arena with 80 luxury boxes and 2,500 club seats. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. People are saying, well, we can't give our money from our taxpayers. They don't want the taxpayers' money. What they want to do is set up a casino or a slot machine system or a lottery system, and if the folks off the street want to go in there and try and make some money or lose some money, if they lose that dough, it's going to go into building the arena. But seriously, they say it's a month from now will be the deadline. Could you imagine if this team wins the Stanley Cup this year and they move? It happened here in 1912. They moved out of the National Hockey League when they won it as the Quebec Bulldogs.
Well,
in my hometown of Red Deer, go ahead, Al, go ahead.
Gary Bettman had been looking forward to a quiet spring and summer after the lockout, but he's going to have to deal with that now. He's also going to have to deal with Winnipeg. It is a very real possibility, I don't mean to be a scaremonger, but very real, that by the time the next season starts, Canada will be -2 teams, Quebec and Winnipeg.
In Red Deer, they waffled on a rink for years. They got the Centrium, they had the figure skating, the Brier, the World Juniors. In St. John, New Brunswick, it's been great. In Sask Place, Saskatoon, it's been a bonus. Those 2 cities have got to get with it. And older folks who are against using taxpayer money, your kids are leaving town because you don't have the facilities, you're not creating the jobs. And the final thing I'll say is I'm so sick of the NHL having players come out of shark heads and panther heads. We don't go back to the buildings, nice as they are, because we like the buildings, just like you don't go over to a friend's place because you like the furniture. You got to love the the game, and until we take care of that, we got a problem. I wish we had more time.
But on the night when there's too much clutching and grabbing in the neutral zone, you got to have a nice building to look at and make it worth your money.
No, I don't believe that for a minute. And segregating the corporate people. Yeah, go ahead.
A new building, it's kind of nice to be able to drive to the new building, not stand in line in cold weather and in cars waiting for the next car to move. Isn't that kind of nice not to have to stand in line for 20 minutes to get a nice, great hot dogs here in Quebec City, but try standing in line here.
Well, I like that rink in Quebec too. Al Strachan, thank you to you and to JD and to Jim, as usual, on the Hot Stove League on After 40 Minutes.
After 40 Minutes. Brought to you by Owens Corning. We make the difference.
We're back at the arena in Winnipeg. The score after 2 periods of play, the Jets 3 and the Toronto Maple Leafs 3. Joining me now is Mike Gartner. Mike, your coach promised a patently different Winnipeg Jet team from last night. Do you see that after 2?
Well, they were. They're playing with a little more spunk, and they're putting a little more pressure on us in the offensive zone. And I think we're playing against a very desperate hockey team that are seeing their playoff chances become very precarious. And I think that that's exactly how they're playing. So if we were surprised, we weren't meant to be surprised.
You've had a bit of a personal struggle this season, a little bit of injury. The scoring touch eluded you for a while. Are you coming out of that?
I feel like over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I'm starting to feel better mentally as well as physically. It seemed like every time I got going, I had another injury and seemed to put me behind. But hopefully, I've turned the corner on it, and I'm starting to get a lot more chances, and that's good.
All right, Mike. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks.
Mike Gartner of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Leafs rivals, the Detroit Red Wings, take on the Vancouver Canucks in the second half of the doubleheader. With a report on that, here's Ron McLean.
Thanks very much, Scott, and for what it's worth.
Having to be desperate now in this season. 3-3 after 2, are they desperate enough?
Well, I would hope so. It's our building. Third period in a big game like this, what more could you want for? And we had a real good second period. Let the Leafs get back in late in the second, but we got to go and take control again.
What about discipline, John?
Well, it's been a bit of a problem for us all year, and it hurt us a little bit tonight with Timo's penalty, but in his defense, a star player sometimes got to take things in his own hands because they're just not getting called.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Toronto had a 1-0 first period lead on a goal by Doug Gilmour, his 8th. And the Winnipeg Jets took control in the second and moved into a 3-1 lead before Toronto came back with 2 late goals. So it's tied at 3 as we go into the third period. Jamie McCowan goes to the corner, taken in against the boards by Grosek. He's scored one of the Winnipeg goals tonight and has been a physical presence for the Winnipeg Jets, this 19-year-old rookie. Out front for Grosek, a backhand shot, and Potvin, with some help from Reichel, covers up the loose puck. It was 1-0 after 1. Then in the second period, the Jets came out flying. Drake with his 5th. Wilkinson with his first, 27 seconds after the first one. And then Grosek at 11:30 from Tkachuk and Emerson. 3-1 Winnipeg. But late in the period, Berg from Sutter and Eastwood at 16:46. And Andrechuk deflecting the shot from the point by Marinoff on the power play at 19:28 to tie it.
Andrechuk had a couple of other chances on tip-ins. It's amazing, a big guy like that, how he seems to get his stick on. He only had one hand on the stick, and he still was able to tip it up and over Nikolai Habibulin.
Dallas Drake is taking the face-off against Eastwood to the right of Potvin. Drake is out there with Domi and King. They switch positions now. Drake gets the draw back to Domi. Domi tried to flip it into the corner on the backhand. Broken up by the Leafs, and Berg takes a shoot-in that catches a corner and takes an unusual bounce right in front of the Winnipeg net. Eastwood is checked. Sutter picks it up in the corner. Sutter is spun around by Drake. Drake works to the line, but not out. Centered out front, and Sutter couldn't get a shot away. Eastwood attempted to center it for Berg. Berg goes after it in the corner. Back of the net for Eastwood. Eastwood around the net, a wraparound try, and Habibulin had his stick down to block that. Finally, it's flipped up high and down the ice by Wilkinson as the Jets make a change, trying to relieve the pressure of the Toronto Maple Leafs early in this third period. King's shoot-in goes over the glass and out of play as he and Domi, the last two members of that five-man Winnipeg unit, to get to the bench.
Teemu Selanne, after two periods, 13-26, 3 shots. He had a couple of chances to charge to the net. He did once in the first period, but not so much in the second period. Doug Gilmour had a strong first period and not so good a second period. And Keith Tkachuk, lots of ice time, but lots of time in the penalty box at 13:57, and then 8 minutes in minor penalties for Keith Tkachuk.
Quintal is checked by Manderville. Selanne is able to shoot it in. Now Doug Gilmour works his way to the line. Stopped there by Zhamnov for Korolev. Gilmour recovers to tie him up. Mironov leaves it along the boards, picked off by Zhamnov. He can't get away from Mironov. Selanne takes it back to the net. Gill trying to tie him up. Korolev comes in, trying to free it against Gilmour. It comes back to the point to Numminen. Numminen for Zhamnov. He shoots and fires it way wide. Manderville flips it down the ice. Back after it goes Numminen. He hit the linesman. The puck is picked up by Zhamnov. In he comes with Selanne. Zhamnov puts on his brakes. Dodges a check, and then as he tried to spin around, has it knocked away. It's picked off by Gilmour, who clears. 17:30 remaining in the third period. Gill throws it rink wide, intercepted by Emerson. He couldn't get out against Andreychuk. Now Groshek leaves it there for Tkachuk. Tkachuk shoots it in off Martin. It goes back to the net. Potvin takes a look, flips it up along the boards. Groshek has his man covered, but the puck slides out to center. Martin throws it across ice for Butcher. Butcher moves it ahead for Wood, who takes a hit from Winnipeg's number 24, Shannon. Now it's Andreychuk stealing it. Andreychuk shoots. The pad save and the puck lying right in the crease. Ridley couldn't get a stick on it as he was tied up by Manson. Emerson comes to the line with Groshek. Tried to feed it off to Groshek, but it's broken up by the Leafs, and Ridley starts back. Ridley works his way in. Looks for someone to give it to. Decides to go to Wood in the corner. He leaves it there for Andreychuk with a nice move, trying to work out front, and then Tkachuk prevents him from getting there. Mikulchik ties up Ridley back of the net. Wilkinson hauls down Wood. Butcher feeds it for Ridley. Butcher goes to the front of the net. Ridley walks out front, getting set, lets the shot go. It's blocked by Mikulchik. Ridley gets it again. Ridley trying to work out front. Finally is knocked off the puck by Wilkinson, and starting away is Emerson. Emerson for Domi. It was beyond his reach. Going into the corner after it is McCowan. McCowan skates away from Domi. Lead pass too far for Eastwood. He goes into the corner. Abby Bullen came out of the net to poke it away from him, and it's flipped up but not out by Domi. Domi gets another opportunity to clear. Can't get it out as Eastwood goes back to the net out front for Berg, and he was checked just in time by Numminen. Here comes Drake now for Winnipeg. He gets to the line, tries to work around. Gill is checked. Gill throws it ahead to Eastwood. Now for Berg. Berg will shoot it in. Sutter goes to the corner, trying to pick it up. Takes a shot from a sharp angle. Berg gets the rebound. Looking out front for Eastwood. It was blocked by Quintal, and he clears.
This Leaf line has worked so hard forechecking. Every shift they've had some pressure on the Jets.
Domi goes after the puck in his own zone. He and Gartner battle for it. Gartner is then checked by Domi. Moved ahead to King, and he flips it to center ice. McCowan takes his time as the Leafs make a change, and in the process of making the change, Reichel and Gartner ran into each other at center ice.
Gartner broke his stick on Warren Reichel.
Long lead pass for Selanne. Here come the Jets, 3-on-2. Selanne moves it over. A shot fired wide by Korolev. At the point, Manson's long shot right on. And Selanne is knocked down as he went for the rebound. Back to Manson. Manson with another shot. That goes wide. Shannon kicks it to the corner to Korolev. He leaves it for Selanne. His centering pass intercepted by McCowan. And the Leafs get it out. Gartner banks it off the board. Zhamnov goes back after it. Jamnoff has his pass. Off a leg. Picked up by Gartner. He shoots it to the corner. 14 minutes remaining in the third period. 3-3. The Jets and the Leafs. Butcher picks up the puck at his own line. Couldn't find anybody in the clear. Tries to set something up now as he works his way to center. Manson gloves the shoot in. Moves it ahead to Groshek. Groshek tried to pass. Got it back again. And then flipped it down into the Leaf zone as he was knocked down by Ridley. Kulchik and Javi Bullen got a little mixed up in their communication on the shoot-in. A stoppage in play with 13:28 left in the third.
Back at the arena, here's one of the great defensemen of all time, 9 seasons with the Leafs and Rangers, Winnipeg native Bill Jusda. What do you think of your Leafs so far this season, Bill?
They're a great hockey team. I watch them, and I'm cheering for them right now, even though I do live in Winnipeg.
Bill, I know you played for the Leafs, but you have an attachment to Winnipeg. Tell me what you feel about all the talk about the Jets potentially moving.
Well, I don't want to see them move, but if we don't do something to keep them here, it looks like they will. And once we lose it, we'll never, ever see them back in the National League again.
Well, let's hope they stay. And folks, if you know anything about Scott Young's books, Boy at the Leafs Camp, Scrubs on Skates, this is the original Scrubs on Skates. Bill Jusda. Don, back to you.
Bill the Beast, a man who could deliver crushing body checks. There have been some pretty good body checks in tonight's hockey game here at the Winnipeg Arena. One delivered by Janssen on Keith Tkachuk as he goes down along the boards. The Beast was more noted for his open ice hits when he would put his shoulder into a forward and send him flying.
And Keith Tkachuk is looking for some blood. Kenny Janssen comes in, has the elbow up on Keith Tkachuk. Tkachuk goes down. Tkachuk tries to play the puck. Oh, the high stick from Kenny Janssen. One hand on the stick, and he got it up right in Tkachuk's face. And it's only a 2-minute high sticking penalty, and Janssen is lucky that there was no blood.
15,397 at the Winnipeg Arena for this rematch between the Leafs and the Jets. The Leafs winners 3-2 at Maple Leaf Gardens last night. A high sticking penalty against Janssen at 6:47 of this third period. And our second half of our Hockey Night in Canada doubleheader coming from the Pacific Coliseum in Vancouver immediately following this game, the Canucks and the Detroit Red Wings. The Red Wings 3-2 losers last night in Calgary to the Flames.
They had a very physical game last Friday in Detroit, a game in which Kay Whitmore and Dino Ciccarelli had a pretty good scrap. And we both know who won that one, Don.
You will stick up for the goaltenders.
You got it.
Ciccarelli was telling me he didn't realize Whitmore was in such good shape.
Aren't all goalies? Don't start.
13:02 is the time remaining in the third. Jamie McCowan required some stitches under his right eye after catching an errant stick in the first period from Chris King. There was no penalty called. He and Bill Bird might have the most scarred kissers on the Maple Leaf team.
From the start of the season till the end of the playoffs, Jamie McCowan's face looks like that, and then it just gets better and season starts again.
Quintal can't keep it onside. Manderville pressuring him.
This is the fourth game in a row that the Jets have not had a power play goal. And with the offensive talent they have, they should be getting at least one a game.
Last Sunday afternoon in a 3-2 loss to the Chicago Blackhawks, it was a short-handed goal by Chris Chelios that really proved to be the killer against the Winnipeg Jets. Coming into the game, 2 power play goals and 28 chances, and they had given up 2 goals short-handed. Here's Solani going for the net. He gets another opportunity as he grabbed his own rebound, and it's smothered by Potvin. And that's more like the Timo Solani of his 76-goal rookie season.
And at the start of this season, the first 8 games this season, Solani was playing like that, where he would drive to the net. He would try and beat somebody one-on-one. Goes through, rolling puck, has a whack at it, and Potvin makes the save.
remaining in the Winnipeg power play. Korolev and Dallas Drake along the boards in the corner, back to the line. There's a shot from the point, loose puck in front. Groshek was standing right in front of goaltender Felix Potvin and was trying to get his stick on the loose puck. But it was cleared by the Leafs. Now Korolev leaves it there for Drake. He whips it around the boards for Numminen. Numminen gets set. He shoots through traffic, and the big rebound is cleared.
That rebound just bounced by Dallas Drake. He was in good position. He was by himself, but it kicked by him.
Numminen dumps it to the corner. Dallas Drake races in after it. Back at the line, Manson keeps it onside. Dallas Drake and Butcher battle for it. Drake kicks it free, then is knocked down. Gets up again, continues to battle with Groshek. Back to Manson. Manson flips it for Dallas Drake. He leaves it there for Groshek. Into the corner for Korolev. He tried to center. It's picked off by the Leafs. Long shot by Randy Wood as the Leafs change up as the penalty to Johnsson expires. Another good job of penalty killing by Toronto. Numminen now flips it to the corner. Domi goes after it. He leaves it for Randy Gillen. Gillen tried to get it back to Domi. A clearing attempt is blocked. Gilmore is back there to help out. He can't get past Domi. Puck loose at the side of the net. Gill picks it up for the Leafs. Manson thought he had Gill lined up. Gill stepped aside just in time, but fell in the process. Gill gets it again. Over to Marinoff. He shoots it in. Manson in the corner. He loses it. He upends Gartner, and there's going to be a penalty. Manson upset and breaks his stick as he slaps the ice in disgust. The Jets have outshot Toronto by a 32-25 margin. 19 of the Winnipeg shots came in the second period. In the first 15 minutes of the second, the Jets may have played some of their best hockey of the year. Later tonight on the power play, Gill shot blocked by Numminen, and with a second effort, he gets it out. Marinoff, who has the puck, was initially credited with a power play goal, the tying goal. It was changed during the intermission to Andrechuk, the 14th of the season for Andrechuk. He is stopped at the line, and Tkachuk fires at the length of the ice.
Tkachuk, a good job on Doug Gilmore. If you're going to key on one player, you key on Gilmore. Make sure he's not the one carrying it over the blue line.
Broken up at the blue line by Teppo Numminen. And now the Leafs are having problems similar to those of the Jets in trying to set up on their power play chance. Khabibulin stops the puck, and it's fired down the ice by Numminen. Marinoff rings it in. Gartner flips it to the side of the net. Marinoff took a big hit from Randy Gillen, and that's why the fans are reacting. And there's going to be a charging penalty against Winnipeg. So the Jets are going to be 2 men short for 56 seconds in this third period. 9:29 remaining.
And Randy Gillen shaking his head, but why take the chance? You're already down a man. Marinoff is just ringing the boards. He's not in danger of going in and following the puck. And Randy Gillen ran over him and takes a charging penalty.
Well, the Jets have been authors of many of their own problems this season. A season that has seen them win just 9 games while losing 16. And many of those 16 losses have been the result of some foolish penalties, undisciplined play on the part of the Winnipeg hockey team. And that has bothered John Paddock since the opening game of the year, a fight-filled 3-3 tie with the Calgary Flames.
If you can get through this, you know that the referee, chances are, will even it up. And if you can survive this, you keep the legs going, you're going to draw a few penalties.
Marinoff is moving in, gets it over to Gill, and a big save by Khabibulin. Marinoff at the point, looks for Gill again. Here's a shot, and that's deflected as Wood was in front of the net trying to set up and was taking quite a beating in front of the goal from Quintal. Gill over to Ridley. Gill lets the shot go. Wood in front of the net again, causing all sorts of problems for Habby Bullen, but Quintal was able to take him out. Gill again. Gets it over to Mironov. There's a shot that deflects. It goes wide. 19 seconds left in the Manson penalty. Here's Gill. Getting set. Fakes it. Lets it go through traffic. The rebound. Bounced away from Andrechuk. Andrechuk for Wood. He's checked by Tkachuk, who loses his stick. Here's a chance for Andrechuk. The rebound. And Habby Bullen makes the save. Out front for Mironov. Mironov with the shot. As Manson comes out of the penalty box. And it's fired down the ice by Newmanen. And Newmanen complaining that he had his stick pulled out of his hand by a Maple Leaf. 52 seconds remaining in the Randy Gillen penalty. Huge saves with the game tied at 3 by Habby Bullen. Andrechuk appeared to have Habby Bullen at his mercy.
Randy Wood had Keith Tkachuk down, so it was a 5-on-2 or a 4-on-2 in front of Habby Bullen, and Habby Bullen came up with the saves.
3-3, the Leafs and the Jets. Toronto on the power play. And at this time, we say hello to those viewers who have been watching Montreal and Ottawa here at the Winnipeg Arena. It's 3-3. Toronto and the Jets. 13 seconds remaining in a penalty to Randy Gillen. The Leafs had a two-man advantage, but were unable to score. They came close, but Nikolai Habby Bullen made some huge saves. Now it's Emerson putting on the brakes. He shoots. Tried to use Butcher as a screen, and it went off the Toronto defenseman. Winnipeg is back at full strength, and the capacity crowd applauds the efforts of the Winnipeg penalty-killing team.
Toronto had 7 shots during that sequence with the two-man advantage, and Habby Bullen stopped them all.
For the benefit of those viewers who have been watching the action at the Montreal Forum, it was 1-0 Toronto after 1. Winnipeg jumped into a 3-1 second period lead before Toronto came back with 2 late goals to tie it. And we're deadlocked at 3 with 6:50 remaining in the third period. Here's a shot by Korolev that is blocked before it gets to the net. Korolev gets it again. He takes a hit from Berg as he shoots it in. Sutter has problems picking up the clearing pass. Now Berg runs into Newmanen in front of the penalty box, but the Winnipeg defenseman is able to dump it to the corner, and Garth Butcher has it. He moves it ahead to Eastwood. A long shoot-in that Habby Bullen leaves back to the net. The Leafs make a complete change. Newmanen, who has logged an awful lot of ice time this afternoon, now moves it ahead. Gillen with a backhand shot. The puck bounces up in front of the net, and Ridley got there just ahead of Domi. Wood checked from behind by Randy Gillen. Chris King comes away with the puck. King slips it through to McCoolchek. McCoolchek moves it over to Chris King. Backhand shot saved. The puck comes back out front on a clearing attempt by Gill, and it just bounced away from Ty Domi.
Here's where the Jets have to drive to the net and have to draw some penalties. You know that referee Don Kowarski owes them a couple, and if they can keep skating, they'll draw a few.
5:33 remaining as Wilkinson shoots it in. Potvin plays it around the boards. Tkachuk cuts it off, trying to move out in front. He's checked by Andrechuk. Andrechuk tries to flip it high, puts it over the glass, and out of play. 5:18 is the time remaining in the third, with the game tied at 3. Maple Leafs, with the game tied at 3, had a two-man advantage for 56 seconds. They, I'm sure, missed Matt Sundin, their leading point producer, on the two-man advantage they enjoyed.
They missed Matt Sundin, but they had lots of chances. They had 7 shots. Dave Andrechuk had a couple of rebounds, and Habby Bullen just made the save. Sundin was pushed into the boards, just weakly pushed into the boards, and awkwardly went in, and a slight sprain of his shoulder.
That happened in the first period when Sundin was checked by Groshek, and he has not returned. Tkachuk off the boards for Emerson. He plays it back to Manson. And Manson takes a hit from Gartner with 4:56 left in the third.
Coming off a loss. Canucks trying to get better at home. They played better on the road than they have at home.
And Vancouver and Detroit had quite a battle at the Joe Louis Arena the last time they met. And it wound up in a real slugfest that involved Kay Whitmore, the goaltender, and Dino Cicerelli.
Keith Primo and Dana Merzen had a little charging match.
Janssen shoot in, picked up by Newman, and he puts it up high on the glass and out. Janssen fires it back in. It's left there for Quintal. Nelson Emerson almost lost his balance as he went after the puck. He fires it in. McCowan chips it past Tkachuk and then flips it down the ice with 4:18 remaining in the third. Emerson trying to hold up Gartner, who's in there in pursuit of Teppo Numminen. Flipped out to center ice. Mironov for Eastwood. Eastwood couldn't go anywhere with it. Post checking in the neutral zone now by both sides.
Alexei Zhamnov has not played very much here in the third period, but he's out there now, and I'm sure John Paddock expects his leader to lead late in the game.
Mikulchik chases it down in his own zone, off the boards for Korolev. Korolev got spun around by Eastwood. Now it's Sutter working in against Mikulchik. He fires it wide, and the puck goes all the way around the boards and out. Picked up now by Zhamnov. Zhamnov follows Sutter out through the neutral zone. Zhamnov works in across the line over to Solani, but it's offside, and that one was close.
Conventional thinking says safety isn't...
Teemu Solani was offside, but it was a very late call by Barron Parker, and the Jets were upset. And Alexei Zhamnov, a little flash and dash in one of the few instances where we've seen that from him tonight.
We talked about Solani starting the year and playing very well through the first part of the season. He took the hit in Vancouver on the 9th of February from Mike Pekka. Suffered a slight concussion on the big hit from Pekka and really hasn't been the same since. Quintal's shoot-in goes to the corner. Solani leaves it there for Zhamnov. Back to the point to Quintal. A backhander is flipped towards the net. Knocked down, picked up by Zhamnov. He tried to feed Korolev in the slot, and the Leafs' Andrechuk fires at the length of the ice. 2:55 the time remaining in the third. The game tied at 3, and the face-off is back in the Toronto zone.
The Leafs hanging on, and Pat Burns doesn't mind on the road. His team battled back, being down 3-1. In the last 2 or 3 minutes of the second period, they fought back and got back into this game. And it was the Bill Berg, Rich Sutter line that really did the damage. Good forechecking, Randy Wood.
Bill Berg with his third goal of the season that cut the deficit in half, and that led to a power play goal by Dave Andrechuk late in the second period to tie it. Berg, Eastwood, and Sutter out there now for the Leafs. Domi, Gillen, and King for Winnipeg.
Again, it's our favorite linesman, Barron Parker, having some problems getting the centerman down.
Domi couldn't get a shot away as he was checked by Eastwood. Here comes Berg. Berg in for Sutter. Sutter goes to the corner. Eastwood tried to go to the net, but Sutter couldn't get the puck to him as he was tied up by Mikulchik. Move it! The puck in skates back to the Winnipeg net. Sutter trying to kick it free. Mikulchik stays with him. Finally, it does come loose, and Abby Bullen comes out of his net, fanned on it. Manson can't clear. Eastwood behind the net for Berg. Berg behind the Winnipeg goal. Momentarily lost control, gets it again for Sutter. Being watched by Mikulchik. Manson and Berg go down. The puck in the skates of Ty Domi as Berg and Manson continue to grapple on the ice.
And again, this line, good work along the boards. And the Leafs with control, they just control it in their skates. They're killing some time. Berg and Manson. Berg is so good at hanging on to the other player's stick and keep it in tight to his body. Berg has it along the boards, never give it up, turn it back in. And again, they cycle it down deep along the boards. They work hard along the boards. Now, who has a hold of whom?
I think that was the best of 3 falls, wasn't it?
And here's the double header of the tag team match, Ty Domi and Mike Eastwood. An illegal tag. I don't think they came from...
Not from outside the ropes.
Not from outside the ropes.
Dallas Drake banks it off the boards. Gill will drive it right back in. Gartner cuts it off. Quintal up along the boards trying to get it out. Gilmore is there to help. He shoots it behind the net. Newmanen tried to put it off the glass and out, but it went out of play. 1:42 remaining in the third period. A 3-3 tie. Winnipeg and Toronto here at the Winnipeg Arena.
Sweet Knox doing the honors here in the Jet Zone. I bug Baron Parker. He plays in the same rec league that I play in once in a while. He hasn't scored on me yet, and he's waiting to do that.
After some of your comments today, he may do more and try and score on you. Here comes Tkachuk. For Newmanen. Newmanen being harassed by Gill. Drake goes back to the net. Dallas Drake looking out front. Couldn't get it to Tkachuk as Gilmore did a good job of tying him up. Now it's Emerson for Drake. Back to Tkachuk. His shot goes wide. Emerson to the corner behind the net for Drake. Cut off by Gilmore on a good defensive play as he tried to move out front. In the slot, Emerson for Drake. Drake tried to get it to Tkachuk. It's still loose at the side of the net. Emerson trying to cut out front as we move into the final minute, and it winds up on the mesh as Emerson and Todd Gill took a swipe at each other, but very quickly the linesman stepped between them.
Earlier in the game, Don Kowarski would have called a penalty on that one. The Jets doing some good work for checking. Tkachuk trying to take out 2 men, create some open ice. Todd Gill and Nelson Emerson takes a chop as Felix Potvin gave him a little bit of lumber. Todd Gill to the rescue.
Dallas Drake, after missing 3 games with back spasms, has played solidly for the Winnipeg Jets in both outings here in Winnipeg tonight and on Friday night at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. Now Todd Gill is heading off to the Toronto Maple Leaf dressing room. Looked as though it could be more of an equipment problem than anything else.
It does look like it's quick equipment. Get ready for the overtime.
Mikulchik races for the puck against Berg. Can't clear. Here's Sutter moving in. He shoots and fires it high. Eastwood trying to center. Blocked by Mikulchik. McCowan cuts it off. 40 seconds remaining. Eastwood back of the net. Battling with Mikulchik. Sutter gets it. Sutter goes to his backhand. Keeps it in for Eastwood. Eastwood tries to center. Goes back of the net. Eastwood looks out front. And Berg was checked as the Jets start back. Here's a lead pass for Solani. Solani cuts into the middle. Tried to feed it back to Korolev. Broken up by Butcher. Sutter gets to center and then shoots it into Winnipeg territory as Quintal goes back after it. Obviously, he didn't quite get to center before he fired it in. The overtime records of these 2 teams, the Leafs have yet to win a game, nor have they lost in 5 overtime appearances, while Winnipeg is 0-1, and they have tied 4.
Look at John Paddock trying to get his team. Talked about the pressure of big games to Scott Russell in between periods and how his team should respond. Well, they played such a strong second period that we haven't seen that same emotion here in the third.
35-33, Winnipeg has the edge in shots on goal. Earlier in tonight's telecast, I mentioned that in 11 games this year where the Jets have outshot an opponent, they have managed just 1 victory.
So they better let the Leafs have a few more shots on goal.
Jamie McCowan works his way up ice, 6 seconds remaining. Will he get a shot? There's a weak one that Habby Bullen leaves at the side of the net for Quintal. And this game is going to extra time.
Felix Potvin, solid game for the Toronto Maple Leafs after 4 games off. Played last night and come back with another good game here tonight.
Doug Gilmour is 8th at 12-20. There was some frantic action in the second period, dominated early by Winnipeg. Drake, Wilkinson, and Groshek were the marksmen before Toronto came back with 2 late goals by Bill Berg, and then on the power play, Dave Andreychuk deflecting a shot from the point by Dmitry Mironov.
Dmitry Mironov with a good low shot. Stefan Kittel tries to take Andreychuk, but Andreychuk gets position. Body between Kittel and the puck. Stick down. Puck up and over Nikolai Ababulin.
And that goal is the reason we have extra time here at the Winnipeg Arena. The third period was scoreless. The Maple Leafs out shooting the Jets 14-8. Much of that the result of 7 shots while they held a 2-man advantage for 56 seconds. And John Paddock has to be extremely pleased with not only the way his goaltender played during that flurry, but with the work of his penalty killing unit.
And especially his goaltender. 7 shots, and a lot of them from in close, and Habibulin down and up, and those quick feet of his came up with some big saves.
Here's a lead pass for Gilmour. He manages to chop it to the corner. Quintal being pressured behind his net by Manderville. Now it's brought out by Emerson, and he dumps it down the ice. Back after it goes Jamie McCowan, being watched by Dallas Drake. Steps away from Drake. Throws it out front for Gilmour. Ahead to Manderville. His shoot in with Gartner racing after it. Gartner tried to ring it around the boards. It went up high. Manderville is checked in the corner by Quintal. Now Nelson Emerson tries to move it. Gilmour is there as well, and they finally tie it up for a faceoff.
Lots of Leaf fans out west as usual, and they're trying to get the Go Leafs Go chant. The Jet fans, Don Cherry fans everywhere.
Well, Don Cherry is out in Vancouver with Ron McLean, Bob Cole, and Harry Neal for the second half of our Hockey Night in Canada doubleheader that will immediately follow this game. Don Cherry, a popular individual wherever he travels, and here in Winnipeg he has a large following. Back to the point. Mironov with a shot that just missed. Here's King. He dumps it to the corner. The Jets make changes as Mironov whips it around the boards for Sutter. Sutter slips it past Manson, but it's a 2-line pass as Eastwood was on the other side of the center red line.
Mike Eagles out to take that last faceoff, lost it cleanly, and the Leafs had a long shot from the point that went wide. Chris King just over the red line dumped it in, and then the Leafs caught on the 2-line pass. Mike Eastwood sitting on the bench of the Leafs, and Mike Eagles has been the designated center for John Paddock, trying to win the key faceoffs, but they've had some problems against the Leafs tonight. Doug Gilmour's been very good on the draws. Mike Ridley has also won more than his share.
Jammed off Korolev and Solani now for the Jets. Andreychuk, Ridley, and Wood for Toronto from the faceoff. Manson gets set. His shot goes off a skate in back of the net. Korolev in the corner with Solani. Korolev continues to work out. Tried to feed Jamnov in the slot. Broken up by Ridley. Now Jamnov gets it again. Jamnov drops it for Solani. Solani in front for Korolev. He was checked by Ridley. Ridley flips it out to center. Back after it is Manson. 3:35 remaining in overtime. Lead pass picked off by Wood. Wood gets in across the line for Ridley. He's spun around, and Manson shoots it out to center. Manson had been looking for Teemu Solani and almost found him with a breakaway pass. Korolev checks his man at center ice. Manson can't go anywhere with it. Ridley is checked by Korolev. The puck is loose. Manson has broken his stick. Now Manson has to go over to the bench to pick up a new one. As a matter of fact, he's going off the ice. Here's a steal by Gilmour. Gilmour drops it off for Gartner. That goes off Newman into the corner. Tkachuk picks it up in his own zone, flips it but not out. Manderville is checked, gets it again, fires it back in. Manderville is out there with Gartner. Flipped out to center ice. Pushed ahead by Nelson Emerson, but he can't carry on. Teppo Numminen chases it down, gets it again. Ahead for Tkachuk. Tkachuk has Emerson breaking through the neutral zone, broken up. Here's Gartner. He's checked. Tkachuk will try again. Tkachuk now over to Emerson. Emerson shoots. That shot is fired wide. 2:22 left in overtime. Gartner plays it to an open wing. Manderville dumps it to the corner, and the Leafs make a change. Wilkinson is back after it for Winnipeg. He works his way out slowly. Tkachuk trying to dodge a check, gets away from Berg. Now for Zhamnov to Solani. Solani getting set over for Tkachuk. He couldn't shoot it. It comes back to Manson. There's the shot right on. And Potvin covers up.
And now there's pushing and shoving. Zhamnov, Rich Sutter is pushing and shoving with Keith Tkachuk.
Felix Potvin with a big save, and the important thing as far as the Leafs are concerned, he smothered any rebound possibilities.
Alexei Zhamnov trying to go to the net, just couldn't get to the net.
And immediately that this game is either decided or winds up in a 3-3 tie, we'll be going to the Pacific Coliseum in Vancouver for the second half of our Hockey Night in Canada doubleheader for the Red Wings and the Canucks. Face-off will take place outside the Maple Leaf blue line.
Some good negotiating by the Toronto Maple Leafs. I didn't see the defenseman come in on that play.
That's what the Leafs were arguing. Rich Sutter obviously convinced Don Koharski that that was the case. Numminen grabs the loose puck, flips it high to the corner. Todd Gill goes after it. High off the glass, Quintal manages to keep it in. Solani flips it back to the net for Korolev. Korolev bumped by Mironov. Puck comes up to Berg, to Eastwood. Eastwood dodges a check, tried to get it back to Berg. It was beyond him, and Quintal puts it high off the glass as the Leafs make a change. Gill forced back into his own zone for Ridley. Ridley's weak shoot in, blocked by Numminen. For Korolev. Korolev to Zhamnov. Zhamnov drops it off for Solani. Solani tried to work around McCowan. The veteran defenseman checked him, and back comes Ridley. He has Wood with him. He runs into Manson, and they do some pushing and shoving as the puck goes back to the Winnipeg net. It's in skates as Wood comes in to bump Manson again. A feed coming back to the point, goes off a stick. It's lying loose in the Winnipeg zone. Finally, it's cleared out to center in the final minute of this hockey game. Andrechuk spun around by Manson. Andrechuk goes down. Mikulchuk takes Ridley in against the boards. Korolev gets the puck over to Dallas Drake. Drake starts away for Winnipeg with Tkachuk coming off the bench. Tried to drop it back, but it was knocked into the corner. Manson cuts off a clearing attempt. Wood ties him up. Tkachuk has it back of the net. Tkachuk trying to throw it out front. Drake is in there to help out as well. Drake centers it. Gillen took a poke at it. It deflected wide. Wood can't get it past Manson. 11 seconds remaining. Now McCowan will ring it off the boards and out. Numminen fires it right back in, and this game is going to wind up in a 3-3 tie here at the Winnipeg Arena. So in the second half of this home-and-home doubleheader, after the Leafs won 3-2 last night, it winds up in a 3-3 tie in Winnipeg.
Welcome back to Supernatural BC. We welcome viewers nationwide. We're getting set for the Canucks and the Wings. The Molson 3 stars in our early games this evening at the 4, Matthew Schneider, Valerie Bure, and Patrick Roy. And in the 3-3 tie at Winnipeg, Bill Berg, Michael Grosek, and Dallas Drake. The Habs win by a pair, a point each at Winnipeg. Coming up, of experience and attrition, the Leafs keeled over in 6.
Broken up, gets in front, Leach scores! Leach scores for St. Louis!
We turn to Vancouver, which couldn't contain a citizen of its fair city.
Off the point to Sakic, scores! Joe Sakic!
Three have been denied. So now for Canada, it's up to the Montreal Canadiens, who find themselves in a bit of a mess, down 3-2 with Game 6 this afternoon at the Molson Centre in Montreal. Or could it be the upstarts from southern Manitoba? The #1 team in the NHL is thinking right now. They're thinking because of a sensational young goaltender named Nikolai Habibulin. Canadian fans, this could be your day. Don't worry, be happy. Viewers in Ontario, Quebec, and Atlantic Canada, you're bound for the Molson Centre in Montreal. The Rangers and the Canadiens Game 6. Windsor and Western Canada, you'll convene at the arena in Winnipeg, where it's the Jets against mighty Detroit in Game 6 of their series. There's Mark Messier, captain of the New York Rangers. How often do we tell the story of his leadership? It's the veterans against the second youngest team in the NHL at the Molson Centre, and of course the frenzy in Manitoba. I'd like to take credit for that Be Happy line, but that's coming out of Winnipeg, where they've got all kinds of puns for their feisty netminder who's given Detroit all they can ponder, and Mike Vernon incidentally goes for the Red Wings in the game. So two great stories to tell here for the Canadian clubs, and one other as Pittsburgh tries to move on. 5 have already advanced to the round of 8. 3 have a chance to do that this afternoon. Good day, I'm Ron McLean. There's Dick Irvin and Greg Millen in Montreal. Gentlemen, you can set up the Rangers and the Habs.
Well, there were some lineup changes, or a couple of key ones expected for Montreal, but really it didn't happen, Greg.
Well, that's right. If Mario Tremblay had his way, Kovalenko would not play this hockey game. He's been brutal the whole series, but Raczynski's knee is just not ready yet, so he has to keep him in.
They talk about the experience the Rangers have over the Canadiens. One of their most experienced performers, Kevin Lowe, missed the game 2 nights ago in New York. He's back, we think.
Well, we think he is. He took warm-up. He told me before the game his wrist feels a lot better, so expect Kevin Lowe to play. Herpotsev, on the other hand, has been bailing out on Colin Campbell. He will not play. Barry Richter's up for the minors. Look for the Rangers to go with 7 defense here this afternoon.
And Barry's no relation to Mike Grahn, who the Canadians have to solve if they're going to continue this series.
Especially on the power play, right, fellas? You can feel the tension at the Molson Centre. The mood should be markedly different in Winnipeg. Let's listen, and then you'll hear from Don Whitman and Brian Hayes.
Prevails again, and for the past day and a half, Brian, players and fans have been talking about only one man, Nikolai Habibulin, over in the Red Wing dressing room. You think they might be seeing some ghosts from 2 years ago?
Well, I think they're seeing Arthur Zerbe flashbacks, that's for sure. I'll tell you what, Detroit has dominated this series territorially, statistically, but here we are in Game 6, 3-2 Red Wings. The Jets played a great game, home game, game number 3. If they can put that same kind of effort, they can force a 7th game, and you never know what can happen in that situation. More than anything, Detroit has to find a way to solve Habibulin.
Keith Primo has been stymied, particularly in Game 5.
Well, there's no question Primo's been frustrated, but it's not like he's not getting the chances. He just has not been able to finish, and most players will tell you that they can be satisfied with their play as long as they continue to get their opportunities.
And if the Winnipeg Jets, Ron, are going to take this to a 7th game on Tuesday, Nikolai Habibulin will have to again say yes to Red Wing shooters.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Brian. It's magic in Winnipeg and, of course, excitement in Montreal. As best we can, we'll tell you the tale of 2 cities throughout the day today. We'll be weaving the story in the intermission, sending you to the venues that you're not with at the moment. And then at the end, whichever game's done first, we'll go to the other game. So we'll tell the whole story as the afternoon moves along. It'll be great for Montreal and Winnipeg. We'll face it off next.
It's time to play
Roll Up the Rim to Win!
at Tim Hortons, where everything's always fresh.
Even the prizes. Win!
One of 15 1997 Ford Escort LX sedans or wagons.
Roll Up the Rim to Win! 5,000!
Raleigh mountain bikes, or over 8 million Tim Hortons prizes.
Roll Up the Rim to Win! Drink the coffee first, people.
Roll up the rim to win.
They're rolling off the line.
Wow!
But the Brick, take 2 years to pay on all home furnishings with no interest and no down payment. Plus, no down payment, no interest, and no monthly payments on everything else in the store. Now through this weekend, take 2 years to pay. Nobody beats the Brick. Canada's top bedding brands are at the Brick.